All right, since it's 6 o'clock, we'll call the Coos Bay City Council meeting to order. Would you all rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance?
United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thanks, everybody. Welcome. Let's get this squared away. All right, so we're going to change the agenda a little bit this evening. Instead of having public comments at the beginning, we have some presentations we're going to do first. We have a promotional process of that swearing in for a 911 communications administrator, and they need to get back to work, and I think it's important. So we're going to let Chief Chapinar go ahead and do that. Thank you.
Good evening, and thank you everyone for allowing us to take a few minutes. I know you have a busy agenda tonight, but I'd like to ask Tessa Cup to come up, and I also would like to recognize her husband, Joe, who's here tonight to observe this. I'll give you a little bit of background. About a month and a half ago, the Sheriff Gabe Fabrizio contacted me and explained that they had some critical staffing issues and that they were not going to be able to keep their 911 center opened up 24/7. Initially, he asked if we would be able to provide some dispatch services a couple nights a week from 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. So we started providing those services. We became the only 911 dispatch center in the county for a few nights a week. About a week or so of doing that, Sheriff Fabrizio contacted me and said the staffing level isn't getting any better. In fact, it looked like it was getting worse. And so asked if we would be able to provide these dispatch services countywide every night of the week from 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. And so we began doing that. We started doing that for about a week, maybe 2 weeks. And I think they realized that in order for them to train, hire staff, and get their center back up and running in a timely manner, it was just going to be nearly impossible. So I provided a dispatch contract proposal to the county. We took that proposal in front of the Board of Commissioners, and it was decided the best course of action would be to bring the centers together under the City of Coos Bay, North Coos 911 Center, and become the only dispatch center in the county. That means we will be dispatching for all 7 law enforcement agencies, and correct me if I'm wrong, I think there's about 15 fire and medical agencies. And so about 22 to 23 different law enforcement related agencies that we'll be providing those services for. So as we started looking at that, we said, well, we're going to obviously need to expand our dispatch center, not only just in physical space, which we fortunately had already done that, but also in capacity, staffing capacity. And so we looked at the best way of doing that and building a successful organization from the ground up. And so our first thought is we need someone that knows what they're doing in terms of the management of this 911 center. And so fortunately, Tessa Cup submitted her letter of interest, and she is, I don't know, I think you might want to check yourself a little bit, but she has, she said that she is up for this challenge. And so Tessa Cup will become our first ever 911 communications administrator for the City of Coos Bay. It's a big, heavy lift. We'll be expanding from 13 full-time employees to somewhere around 19 to 20 full-time employees. We'll be the only dispatch center in the county providing all the dispatch services. And man, as you start looking at all the moving parts, it is a big lift. And so Tessa hit the ground running. She's actually been in this capacity since the 3rd of September, just doing a really, really good job. And so we'd like to make this official if we have not scared you off. I'd like to just talk a little bit about Tessa. Tessa has worked for the City of Coos Bay for 19 years. 14 of those 19, she has been a dispatch supervisor. So she has already been leading her team of dispatchers and building the culture that we have today, and an amazing culture, amazing people in there that put 110% effort every day that they come to work. She has held, and I'm going to read some of these because I don't want to mess up, but she has held many different positions to include field training dispatcher. That means she trains some of the newer dispatchers that come in. She's been a supervisor, as I noted. She was the union president and also an executive board member. She's been the department's leads representative. She sits on a couple different boards. She's been a tactical dispatcher. She's been a member of our crime prevention team, and she currently is the Regional 8 representative for the Department of Oregon Emergency Management Advisory Board. So she represents not only Coos County, but other counties within our region, Region 8. And so just a tremendous amount of experience, a huge asset to our organization, and I think she's just going to be a fantastic manager, and she's going to be a new member of the police management team, so that'll make 4 managers over at the police department. So we are very fortunate to have you, and if, like I said, if we haven't scared you off, I'm going to have you raise your right hand and repeat after me. Say your name.
I, Tessa Cup,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will faithfully perform
that I will faithfully perform
the duties of a 911 communications administrator,
the duties of a 911 communications administrator,
that I will act at all times with respect
that I will act at all times with respect
for the law and for the good of the community,
for the law and the good of the community,
that I will uphold the rules and regulations
that I will uphold the rules and regulations
of my department,
of my department,
and that I will perform the duties
and that I will perform the duties
to the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability.
Okay, Tessa Cup, I do hereby appoint you 911 Communications Administrator for the City of Coos Bay, Oregon. Your term of office will commence immediately and continue until your successor is appointed and qualified unless sooner removed. Your authority and duties as a Communications Administrator are limited by the City of Coos Bay regulations and ordinances and the State of Oregon statutes. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Say something if you'd like. If you
I
don't.
just want to thank the chief and the city for recognizing the need for this position and then trusting me to do it, and I hope I do everybody proud. Thank you.
Well, Tessa, congratulations for being the first communication administrator, and I know you'll make us proud, so thanks again. So first of all, Counselor Sarah Stevens is virtually online. Also, we're not going to do semi-annual presentation by the Coos Bay North Bend Visitors Association this evening. That's not going to be on the agenda. Also, number 3E, staff introductions will also be taken off the agenda this evening. So the next item on the agenda that we're going to do before public comments is a presentation of the Mayor's Appreciation Award to Oregon Bay Area Beautification. And if I can get Elizabeth Chu to come up to the podium.
I'm having Katie come up with me too.
There's many that are involved in this, and so let me get to this. So first of all, we have the Mayor's Appreciation Award. Mayor's Appreciation Award was started in 2000, let me get this correct, 2002. And so that's the year I started it, but I can't take credit for it. It was my wife's idea that we need to honor some citizens and organizations in the community that really make an impact and make a difference. And so throughout the years, I was able to do the first one, and I think maybe the one after that. But throughout the years, other mayors have stepped up and appointed other ones. And at this time, I haven't done one since 2016, since I've been reelected, but this one needs to be done with OBAB. And so I just want to make a few comments about OBAB. And so first of all, Elizabeth Chu wears many hats. She's an advocate for the area, of course, as OBAB is, but also something new to it that I've been seeing that she does, and she has become a travel agent. So so if you have a need to fly out of OTH, our airport, Elizabeth can help you. I've been watching her posts, and she's giving you good rates to how to fly out of here and go to different locations, so we appreciate that.
I'm not making any money yet.
Okay.
I'm not making any money yet. Just so you know. It's just for fun.
All right, so back to the award for OBAB. So OBAB started in 2021 from middle of the night idea by Elizabeth Chu with support from her family. Their first cleanup was at Boynton Park in North Bend in November of 2021. OBAB has a broad mission with beautifying Oregon's Bay Area, currently focused the second Saturday cleanups, but with plans to eventually widen the scope to sponsoring and anti-littering campaigns, public art, gardens, etc. The ultimate goal is to make the Bay Area well cared for and as beautiful as the surrounding natural area. Their drive for the second Saturday cleanups is to change the culture and galvanize people to organize themselves within our own neighborhoods, towns, and organizations to spruce them up. They really believe in the idea of many hands make light work, and through their concentrated efforts, lots can be accomplished in just a short amount of time, which they definitely have done. The first November 2021 cleanup included Katie Loy, Andrea and Rich McCain, who have been with OBAB ever since and were crucial in getting OBAB off the ground as a nonprofit. Jim Bairds was also a volunteer, and I see he's online at the first cleanup and has been an invaluable resource as OBAB has grown. Elizabeth Chu is the president. She and her family have lived in the area for 5 years. She volunteers with the Egyptian Theater, one of those other hats, and with the Hillcrest PTA. She grew up, family of 8 kids, and as an Air Force family, they did lots of camping, and her parents emphasized the importance of leaving a place better than you have found it. Great attribute. She and her husband, Ben, have 3 children who are regular participants in the second Saturday cleanups, so if you've been there, you see her whole family's there. It's just not her. She recruits many people. Kathy Loy is the treasurer and does all their PR as well. She designs the shopper and is a talented graphic designer and a business called Creative Cat Designs. Katie has lived in the Oregon's Bay Area off and on for most of her life. She's the only non-transplant on the Oregon BAB board. Wow, okay. Andrea McCain owns and operates Leo Terrace Creations. You can find her at the Wed's Downtown Farmers Market, Wednesday's Farmers Market, and other markets in the area. She is our on-to-go person in charge of purchasing with knack of finding deals and things OBAB needs to operate. Rich McCain is the vice president, has a background in construction, and currently teaches at the trade of AYA. Jennifer Meredith is a new board member as secretary, moving her with her husband, Jason Meredith, a member of the Coast Guard. She works in the North Bend Library and keeps OBAB organized as secretary, in charge and sign in our second Saturday events. Vanessa McKinney is the most recent OBAB board member and works for Weyerhaeuser. And so at this time, I would like to honor OBAB as the mayor's, we're going to have to fix this, Nicole. We'll get this fixed for you. All right. So anyway, the Mayor's Appreciation Award presented to the Oregon Bay Area Beautification for their efforts to fund, organize, and carry out a community cleanup and beautification projects in the city of Coos Bay and North Bend communities. She has just done a wonderful job, and this organization has done a wonderful job. They've really made an impact and a difference in the community. So thank you very much, and help me congratulate them. Yes.
Our next second Saturday cleanup is at Marshfield Pioneer Cemetery, and it is on October 12th. We're going to start, sign-in starts at 9:45. It's 2 hours, quick. Even if you can only volunteer for half an hour, you'd be amazed at how much it gets done. That cemetery is a historic cemetery, needs a lot of love, and deserves a lot of love. So come and join us on October 12th.
I just want to say that I saw a lot of problems and a need in this area, and I griped about it. And I finally decided when Beth started the cleanup group, I was like, heck yeah, I want to help and do it. And it's been so satisfying. It's been aggravating to see what's become, but it's super satisfying to see the results and to see the community come together from all walks of life, ages, differences, anything. If there's anything we can all try to work together, it's to make our Bay Area beautiful. Thank you.
So I really would like to try to convince everyone to follow them on Facebook. They post and they'll tell you where they're going to be and where they're going to be cleaning up, and try to participate if you can. So thank you. The next one, I'd like to get Cheryl Crockett. Is she around, I hope?
Oh, there she is. Okay, and Janice. So you want me to say a few words first? Okay. Hi, everybody. I'm Janice Long, and I am the Executive Director of the Coos Bay North Bend Charleston Visitor and Convention Bureau. We are the contracted management organization for the Coos Bay Visitor Information Center. When we took that over, I inherited the existing staff, and it was to our betterment. So what do you say about a person who has given more than 21 years of service to this city and to our tourism industry? She's the go-to for any historical knowledge, and she will always be the go-to for historical knowledge. She's the go-to to connecting to any and all people who have ever worked in this city, in North Bend, in our area, for anything. She knows who they are. She's the face of the Visitor Center and was for so many years. And she's the one who told me I couldn't carry an umbrella because I'd look like a tourist when I moved here. And there are so many more. She was a dedicated Seroptimus member, and we still have things at the Visitor Center from her time there. She's a creative force. She's a talented baker. She's a loving grandmother, wife, and mother, and a true friend to so many. From the very small building that was the Visitor Center many years ago to the grand facility that we have today, she has been there and she's been the constant. She's been there for 21 years, and we said goodbye to her last week, but she's still here. So, and she will be missed. So, Cheryl.
So I have the honor of giving her the appreciation of service. But Cheryl, all I can tell you, besides what Janice has really completely explained about Cheryl, is that I just know that she's always been at the Visitors Convention Bureau and running that operation and greeting many tourists and getting the volunteers to participate. And so it's always wonderful to have dedicated volunteers like this. Without volunteers, all of our volunteers in the city, like Cheryl, we could not exist. So she was an important part. I know that she won't be there in person, but she'll always be there in spirit. And I'm sure that if ever needed, we can always call and ask her for whatever advice we can get. So anyway, first of all, I want to present this to Cheryl Crocker for the 21 years it's been mentioned of dedicated service to the city of Coos Bay through her work managing the city's Visitor Information Center and volunteer staff. Congratulations, Cheryl. Help me welcome her.
I don't talk. Thank you so much. And anybody that knows I don't talk. So thank you.
All right, thanks. Okay, so now I think we'll get back on track with the regular public comments. So tonight we're going to have the public comments, and so I'm going to read the information about public comments. So public comment period is intended for the public to share ideas and concern. It is not intended for the interactive discussion with council. There may be opportunities for the public comments during specific agenda items that require a public hearing. Members of the public are requested to confine their remarks to the questions or issues under discussion during the time. During any designated comment period, individuals shall not engage in personal attacks, shall not impugn the motives of any speaker, and shall at all times while in session conduct themselves in an appropriate manner. No person shall make personal, impertinent, slanderous, or unauthorized remarks and become boisterous while addressing the council. So we have a list of people that want to make public comments this evening. And so because there are so many, hopefully we can get through it. I'm going to take 20 minutes of public comments at the beginning. Whatever we don't get through at the beginning, we want to get through our agenda. I'll bring them up at the end of the meeting, and they can continue on with their comments. At that time, we also will read into the record some public comments at that end. So the first one that will be starting is it Joanne Rudd? Okay, come on up and just state your name and the city you reside in and whatever comment you'd like to make. Please.
You have 3 minutes, and I'll tell you when you're going.
Thank you. My name is Joanne Rutland, 289 LeClaire Street. I work for Advanced Health, and I'm an Intensive Care Coordination Program Manager. I am here to support the Deo Center as the Devereaux Center is a critical partner for our care coordination program. They have been essential in assisting us in reaching some of our most vulnerable and highest need OHP members. Without the Devereaux Center and their assistance, we would have individuals who are discharging from the hospital and have nowhere to go. They would have nowhere to access their needed medical equipment, their needed treatments. And what I'm referring to specifically is Coal Bank Village as an extension of the Devereaux Center. Advanced Health has 3 shelters at Coal Bank Village that we use for medical sheltering. So post-hospitalization discharge for those who have very serious medical conditions and who happen to be homeless. You know, you can't plug oxygen into a tree, you would like to say. With those shelters, we have not only reduced hospitalizations, readmissions, we have improved quality of life, we have connected individuals with needed medical care, behavioral health care, substance use treatment, and we have also connected them with social health resources. And we have about 50%, at this point, 50% of the individuals we have served through Coal Bank Village have found housing. So they are now off the street. And that is roughly, we've had, I believe, 45 individuals through our medical sheltering program. So half of those are no longer on the street. I do not know what would happen with Coal Bank Village without the Devereaux Center, but I can tell you that it is critical to our community and critical for Advanced Health and our care coordination program to have the Devereaux Center as a partner. Thank you.
Thank you. Pastor Matt McCoy.
My name is Matthew McCoy, and I am a pastor for the Harbor Assembly of God in our Coos Bay campus in Bunker Hill. I'm also our outreach pastor, and we have an outreach ministry which we serve the community on Saturdays. We feed them, clothe them, things like that. I've got the opportunity to work with the Devereaux Center and with Tara for a few years now. She helped us out a lot, exchanging supplies and other needs, as well as helping me to find different resources that I can point other people to get help, whether it's for addiction or health cares or things like that. Myself, over these last few years of working with the homeless, I've got to see a lot of the positive results that came out of the Devereaux Center. You know, I've got to see lives saved, many lives saved, and lives changed. I've got to see people that get a head up and get back on their feet. Some of them went back to work for Devereaux. And some of them I've seen are members of my church now who have jobs and are doing great now because of the help that they received in that, for somebody to help them out. And so I'm not trying to undermine or invalidate the needs of the local community in that area, but I'm just here in support of the Devereaux Center, and I'm hoping that we come to a solution that would be both good for the local community as well as the homeless community, so that the Devereaux Center can continue to help people, people that they're helping right now, as well as in the future, because they do a lot of good in this. And they're also, one thing that I really love about them is that she's always willing to work with other organizations to help people. You know, she's not a lone ranger. She's actually works with other people and tries to, and shares resources with other people in order to help our homeless community. So I'm just up here in support of that, and I hope that we come to a good solution to this. Thank
Great.
you.
Thank you. Dan Edwards?
Hello, my name is Dan Edwards, and I live at 270 Johnson Avenue, the Willow House, ran by the Deo Center. And I have to say, everything these people have said are just about on spot, because I've been here for a year now, have been off the street with 2 children, because I'm a single parent, and they work with me intently on trying to stay healthy and busy, although I've got some illnesses. I've got lung cancer and congestive heart failure. They have still worked with me within this year to keep me off the street. And with a program like that, I would be on the street. So I have to thank them wholeheartedly for keeping me and my family off the street. Thank you.
Thanks. All right, Chris Wise.
Good evening. My name is Chris Wise. I've been a resident of Coalbank Village since the middle of July, and I've been receiving help from Deo Center since July 1st of this year. I have nothing but positive things to say about the Deo Center, honestly. Haas came by this evening and said that they were going to head over to the city council meeting and do a little talk with them, and I asked what it was about, and I immediately offered to come over here and put in a good word for them. They did not ask me to come over here. No one asked me to be here tonight. I'm happy to be here and speak on their behalf and say, I think the whole entire community of Coos Bay should get behind the Deo Center. And if they can, spend a day or two sitting inside that facility and just observe and listen and pay attention to what's going on, because it's true love and compassion that's going on over there. And it's hardly available anywhere on this planet now. So I hope you can see that, and I hope you get a chance to see it for yourself.
All right, thank you. Robert Frost? Trout, okay.
My speech tonight is on the girls of Coos Bay neighborhoods. And I'd like to start by saying John F. Kennedy, Ronald Reagan, and Donald Trump are good people. They represent the people of our Coos Bay neighborhood. They did not deserve to die. Now, with a new patriotism, young life can begin, free from crime in Coos Bay, thanks to our police. Falsification and misrepresentation will not be allowed. That girl Janice, from head of the class, will learn to deny her crimes of rebuttal. Coos Bay Police missing persons will find evidence of Emma Ross or Ray Laird to prove by their age that this is not a crime. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your rebuttal.
Pastor Terry Hoft.
Good evening. I'm Pastor Terry Heft. I pastor Sumner Community Church just outside the city limits, but it's one of many hats I wear. This one consequently says Iraq war veteran, and also I'm a volunteer firefighter and chaplain with one of our local fire departments. I don't say this to puff myself up, but I speak on behalf or in support of the Deo Center because of the hope that they provide to the community. When our country asks people to go to war, it's not the government that does anything, it's the people who volunteer to serve. When you call the fire department at night, the government doesn't respond, it's volunteers who get up and serve. And for the Deo Center, they give people hope. I lost count now because I volunteer at the DKD clinic twice a month. We serve people's medical, mental health needs and spiritual needs and try to help them navigate the labyrinth of government bureaucracy to get the social services and help that they need. And I've lost count of the number of people now that are now still alive because of the clinic, that we've saved them while the clinic is running, that they have been able to get the housing they need, that they have been able to get the food they need, that they've been able to get the resources they need. And it's not just because of the clinic. Day in and day out, the staff of the Deo Center, they're the ones really giving these people hope, letting them trust us, letting them open themselves up to us, that we can help them, that we can show them that we are a people who care about the well-being of the less fortunate in our society, and we want to give them hope, and I believe that's what the Deo Center has been doing in our community. Thank you.
Thank you. Anna Tyron? Anna Tyron, here you go.
Hi, I'm Anna Tryon. I'm an employee at the Deo Center. I started out there volunteering. I lived at Coal Bank Village for 8 months about, me and my 3 little boys. And I'm now in housing, and if it wasn't for that, like every day that I go to work there, that place ain't like work to me. It's like my second nature to help people. Like, I can't help but to help people in the same shoes that I was once in also. These people don't have anybody else, don't have nowhere to go, don't have anybody that actually care. Well, it seems like not much people care about them. Like, I've been in those shoes. I understand that feeling. Like they don't have nowhere to go on Christmas. They don't have nowhere to go on Thanksgiving. They don't have families that they get to go eat with. Like, and they need somewhere that they feel safe enough to go to. Because I don't know about you guys, but I like having some place to go home to, or like, yeah, anyways. That's all I got. Thank you.
Thank you. So is it Joel? Okay, great. Thank you. So you can state your name and the city you reside in. Thank you.
My name is Joel Swanstrom. I live at the Coal Bank Village there, that's part of the Deo Center. And I just want to say that I am one of those lives that have changed. You know, I've got 60 days clean and sober now. I'm doing really good. I'm an active part of society, and that's how Deo Center works. That's what they want to do. And I also want to talk about a few others. Thomas, came in with advance, and he came in suicidal. Now, his life wasn't going that great, you know, and he's getting better, and he's part of an active, we're all part of an active, moving society now, than rather just sitting around and doing nothing. So if it wasn't for the Deo Center, we wouldn't have these things. And they're doing a great job. That's all I got.
Thank you. So I'm going to need some help with this. I don't know if it's Janice or James? Okay, thank you. Okay, appreciate that.
My name is James Merkel, and I'm a resident also at Coal Bank. You need to know that 4 months ago I was suicidal in your town. I was ready to drive off into Bay and forget the world. I didn't care. But these people have given me a chance to turn around my life and do something with it. I have a serious depression problem, and where I'm living in the village, they can keep an eye on me, and they can tell when I'm about to have a panic attack or about to have a anxiety attack, and they kind of take good care of me. They clothe me, they feed me, and they watch over me, kind of like a parent would, kind of give you a second chance. I'm 69 years old, and I'm really grateful they're here for me. Thank you.
Thank you. So this is another one we need. Is it Steve? White? Maybe.
I'm Steve Watson. Been a volunteer at Coal Bank Village for about the last 3.5 years. I like being there for people when they just need a little hand up. I was volunteer at Shutter Creek Correctional for the previous 10 years before COVID closed it down. Was in there 3 days a week for 10 years at a time, and over that 10 years, I got several letters from guys. You help them up, they get on their feet, everything, and then they're gone, right? You don't see them, and I don't know how they track me down, but I get letters from them saying, and they all basically said, hey, Steve, thanks for spending a little bit of time with me. I have my family back. My wife and I have jobs, so I got our kids. Send a little snapshot of them, right? It's like, thank you, Father, right? I'd be there right now, but if it weren't for COVID. It's the same thing at Coal Bank. Just a little help, just a little help, just somebody to sit there and listen to them, you know, because their lives out on the street, nobody wants to hear them. Nobody wants to see them. Nobody even wants to admit that they're there, right? So when you get the cold shoulder all the time, you kind of get beat down like, I can't move forward. Well, all it takes is one or two people, like at the Devereaux, just a little bit of help. I know there's been a whole bunch of people that have come through that Coal Bank Village that I don't see now that have got jobs, got lives, they got housing, and it's like, ooh, yeah, right on. I really dig that, and right? I'll be here for them as long as they're here, and I just wish them well. Thank you.
Thank you. Adam Palmer?
All right. Adam Palmer, Coos Bay. Sounds like there's a lot of good things that come out of there, which we know. Awesome speech, by the way. And there's a lot of good people that benefit from that. But just a quick Google search says that there's over 2,000 homeless people in just Coos Bay alone. I don't see 2,000 homeless people in here, no offense. But there's a lot of trouble that comes out of Deo Center, as you guys all know. I live next to the Coal Bank Village 4 times a week. Whose Health and Wellness goes down there 4 times a week. How many times do the police come down there? I don't know yet, but I'm getting the records. So there's a lot of trouble. It's not that we don't like the Devereaux, it's that we don't like how it's ran. So, and I'm sorry, just making eye contact to you. I liked your speech, it was very good. So things just need to be ran a little differently, which I've brought up multiple times. We tried to have this town hall meeting, worked pretty good, but nobody's reached out from the Deo Center. They've done closed doors meetings, which they've never asked me or anyone else to come and say, hey, we're having this meeting, we want to come in. Coos Bay, I haven't seen any. We not only have our 2 or 3 minutes every Tuesday, which is awesome since you guys don't get paid for any of this, but they don't. They're all volunteers, by the way. Most people don't know that. Every one of them volunteer, so it's pretty incredible. So I haven't seen any open door policies from the Deo Center personally. So I've not once got an email or a Facebook message or any of that. And this is my town too. I mean, I employ almost 30 people here. I lived here 24 years. I've donated thousands of dollars to different things. I like it here. My kids like it here. So welcome, but we need a little more transparency if you guys want to be a part of it and not so many calls. I mean, that amount of police activity taken away from, no offense, but the people who pay for that is not okay. I mean, there's not a lot of police force around here, and we need help too every once in a while. So 1 minute, I got 2 more though. Like, dang it. So anyways, that's pretty much all I have to say. Is I have no problem with the mission. I have a problem how it's executed, and I believe as an employer I could do probably better. So if you want a new direction, I'd be happy to volunteer some services. I mean, I have made it through COVID without much help. I raise a family without much help. I employ people, vacations. My point is we can take $1 and I can make 2 of them. I've done it. I have no problem trying to help. So if you want a new direction, I'd be happy to help for a while. So not permanently, but this town means a lot to me. So that's pretty much all I have. And I don't want to make you feel unwelcome saying I'm this and you're not, but I was also homeless and now I'm not. But I also have done 100 hours of work a week since I was 15 till 29, and then life got a little easier. But anyways, again, not trying to toot my own horn, but where there's a will, there's a way, and I'd be happy to help even through the businesses if you guys want. So time's up. Okay, thanks.
Thank you, Adam.
Yep.
Perry Holman?
Perry Holman from Coos Bay. I'm going to give a different perspective, the perspective when nobody's looking. I've been at the Devereaux Center at night, 2 in the morning, times when nobody's looking, where the people that are there are allowed to get away with anything they want. From that perspective, the Devereaux Center has been a blight on the community for years. I've been speaking publicly about it, about what takes place at the Devereaux Center for years. I was at the Devereaux Center meeting a few years ago when Tara and the board said they wanted to hear from the community. The room was packed with speakers. Many speakers were talking about how they do not feel safe in Empire because of the actions of Devereaux Center clients, or how Devereaux Center handouts have been left throughout the entire city, or about the excessive drug use, violence, and prostitution that takes place on the Devereaux Center property after hours. On Facebook, you can find countless conversations about how the Devereaux Center is a blight. Within those conversations, you also see Tara Johnson chiming in, telling people to not believe their lying eyes, or how it's not the responsibility of the Devereaux Center to know what kind of people their clients are. I've never seen Tara admit fault in what takes place in Empire or on Devereaux Center property, or for enabling active criminals who steal and destroy hardworking citizens' property. I've spent quite a bit of time around the Devereaux Center after dark. I've seen quite a few drug deals on the property. I've had people on Devereaux Center property offer me drugs. I've been told by Devereaux Center clients that I can go buy drugs on Devereaux Center property and then trade those drugs for sex inside of the porta potty that is on Devereaux Center property. I've seen how women on Devereaux Center property become flirty and touchy and hanging all over a guy the moment she finds out that that guy has drugs. I've been on the Vega property behind the old Spotlight Bar where the Devereaux Center clients illegally camp. They had a honey bucket set up within 20 feet of a flowing creek, and there was evidence that that human waste was being dumped and polluting that creek that flows directly into the bay. What did I get for talking publicly about all the illegal activities that I've witnessed taking place at the Devereaux Center? Tara chose to have me trespassed. I had Coos Bay Police Department call me and tell me I was trespassed. For what? I haven't done anything on that property. But because I speak my mind and I tell people what I see, she doesn't even want me on the property. She's trying to silence those that don't agree with her. The Devereaux Center has 5 community standards for its clients, and they've had these rules for years. No violence, weapons, or aggressive behavior, no drugs, alcohol, or marijuana on Devereaux property or neighboring properties to help clean up, create a positive community image, and do not stay on the property after dark. Every single day of the week, all 5 of those rules are broken, especially at night when nobody's looking. We need to pay attention to the bad, not just the good.
Thank you. All right, so we have one more speaker, Cricket Souls, so we might as well wrap the public comments up within just a few more minutes, after 20 minutes. No, just the ones on the list. Sorry, you can come back. We can, well, we're at the 20-minute level. Cricket, come on up, give us your comment. You can speak at the end of the meeting. I'm sorry, that's the end of it. Go ahead, Cricket.
Cricket Souls, and I live outside but still in Coos Bay. And I was supposed to be a preview, and we call the initiative at the Marshfield Pioneer Cemetery, Partners to Preserve Our Pioneer Cemetery. And I just want to reiterate that Oregon Bay Area Beautification come twice a year, have a diverse population of people that come in. They complement what the city is able to do, and then they go beyond that, and they will be returning again on October the 12th, so we invite you to come join them. You don't always have to pull weeds or work hard. We'll find something for you. And then Cheryl Crockett, not only did she help us with publicity for all the years, she knows the ins and outs of everything. So I don't know what we'll do without her, but we'll get going. And she was down there Saturday working. So we're having an event coming up, and we're trying to change the culture by engaging kids in things, and that's part of it. So this coming September 27th, Marshfield, it's a Friday next week, not this coming week, we'll have the dedication of 3 headstones for young men who didn't receive headstones even though they served and were veterans of the Army. They served in the Philippines, which was not unlike Vietnam. They came back with issues and couldn't necessarily overcome them. And now they'll, after more than 100 years, they'll each be receiving a GI headstone. The students will be putting on most of the program, and they're accompanied by help from the American Legion and other veterans groups. And this is how we try and change the culture of what's going on and teach students and let them know about what options before we get too far along. So we encourage you to come and join us on that day at 2:30. And we also want to thank Pacific Power Foundation, as we've now completed a match with them. And we do get grants for restoration, and without the match, we couldn't do this. So we will be starting a new match program, and we're looking for just little bits from alumni of Marshfield High School. So if you're an alumni, you could check in with me, and we'll tell you what our new fundraiser is.
Thank you, Cricket. All right, so as I stated earlier at the beginning of the meeting, I was going to have 20 minutes because we have an agenda we need to get through, so the other 20 minutes will be at the end. So next item on the agenda is consideration to council member appointment to the city's Economic Opportunities Analysis, Economic Development Strategy Plan Public Advisory Committee. And
good evening, Mayor, Council.
Oh, thanks, Chelsea.
So the city is working on long-range planning effort that will result in an updated economic opportunities analysis. This speaks to the city's supply of commercial and industrial lands that have been found suitable for economic growth. And so we do, every 20 years, we kind of take a look at how much land we have, is it suitable? We are working on that now together with an economic development strategic plan that'll really help establish the framework that is going to guide the city towards continued economic growth. It's a project that was funded by the Ford Family Foundation. The city received $50,000 to do this work. It'll take about a year. It's going to be informed by a public advisory committee. It's a committee that'll be made up of various community stakeholders, including elected officials. And so tonight we're asking council to appoint one council member to serve as representative on this advisory committee. And so I'm hoping that somebody has interest.
So is there,
Mayor Benetti?
Go ahead, Sarah.
I am interested in serving on this committee. I think it aligns with my professional work as well as my interests with the work happening here in the city.
Is everyone all right with that, Sarah, being on the committee?
I was also going to throw my name into the hat.
So you got,
because I serve as the Urban Renewal Chair, it fits also with the liaison to the Coos Bay Downtown Association. But
can you have just one, or can you have more than one, Chelsea?
I see no reason why we can't have two.
Okay, so we have two that have stepped
I
up.
will serve as an alternate.
Okay.
That would be great.
Perfect.
Okay.
We got it.
Is that okay, Sarah?
I would love that. Thanks, Stephanie.
All right, so we have Sarah, Councilor Stevens, will be the representative, and an alternate will be Councilor Stephanie Kilmer.
Who am I?
Thank you.
Do we need a motion for this, Mr.
Yes, I would say so.
I'll make a motion to appoint Councilor Stevens to serve as the Coos Bay City Council member representing the city's Economic Opportunities Analysis and Economic Development Strategic Plan, Public Advisory Committee, and Councilor Stephanie Kilmer as the alternate.
I'll second that.
Been moved and seconded to have Councilor Stevens and Kilmer as the appointees. Any other comments? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. All in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Hearing none, it passes. Thank you. Next item is consideration to approve the 2024-25 Spring Streets Project. Greg, are you in the audience? Or is it going to be Jennifer? There you are.
In the corner over here.
All right. Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor Benetti, Council DeNovo, and City Councilors. Thank you for having me. As part of the continued efforts by Council to improve city streets and enhance the drivability and safety for the constituents of the community, staff continue to identify streets that need repair. At the September 3rd, 2024 Council meeting, staff brought several road projects for Council's consideration. All were approved with the exception of the 2024 Spring Streets Project. The project was requested to be brought back to council with additional information. The 2024 Spring Streets project is proposing to grind and inlay the eastbound lane of Central Avenue between Ocean Boulevard and 11th Street. Central Avenue will be restriped from 11th Street to Ocean Boulevard to remove the substandard center left turn lane to accommodate 2 new bike lanes that will be added in each direction. The bike lane for the eastbound lane will terminate at South 11th Street, and the westbound bike lane will begin at North 12th Street. This project will include 1 new ADA-compliant curb ramp, a new crosswalk, and 2 rapid flashing beacons. The 2024 Spring Streets project will also include improvements to South 9th Street between Central Avenue and Anderson. This portion of the project will have 2 separate elements to it. Half of the roadway will be complete dig out and reconstruction, with the other half only needing to be ground and inlaid. The 9th Street improvements were approved at the September 3rd, 2024 council meeting. This project is planned to go out for bid and construction in the fall. So for background, at the May 7th, 2024 council meeting, staff presented the conceptual drawing of the removal of the non-compliant center left turn lane and the inclusion of the 2 bike lanes on Central Avenue at the recommendation of the Parks Commission to council. Staff coordinated with Kim Parducci of Southern Oregon Transportation Engineering to investigate the feasibility of this concept, and she did not believe it would cause significant stacking and thought the concept was feasible. During this meeting, staff informed council that a letter was sent to the surrounding neighborhood, a 250-foot radius, and 1 email of support of the project was received. At the May 7th, 2024 meeting, council made the recommendation to approve staff to move forward to the final design along Central Avenue, which includes the removal of the non-compliant center left turn lane, a new 4-foot eastbound bike lane, and improving the westbound bike lane as shown on the attached exhibit. The motion carried and staff moved to design. At the September 3rd, 2024 council meeting, staff presented the project to council for approval. At the meeting, council requested additional information regarding traffic counts for the eastbound turn lane at Central Avenue and 12th Street. This is where the non-compliant turn lane that is proposed to be removed. Staff conducted traffic counts on September 10th, 2024. The counts took place in the morning time from 7:30 a.m. to 8:15 a.m., and there were no center left turn lane movements that were observed. The evening counts took place from 5:15 to 6 o'clock p.m., with 4 left turn lane movements observed. Another question that arose at the September 3rd, 2024 council meeting was the installation of a rapid flashing beacon at the intersection of 12th Street and Central Avenue. This intersection will include a new ADA-compliant ramp as required by the Department of Justice on the southeast corner of Central Avenue and 12th Street. The south side of Central Avenue is serviced by a sidewalk that terminates at this corner. The improved ADA-compliant curb ramp is the terminus of this sidewalk, and pedestrians traveling along this travelway must either cross the street at this intersection, turn back and cross the road at 11th Street, or continue along the south side of Central Avenue walking in the roadway. Due to vehicle speeds on Central Avenue and poor visibility associated with the retaining wall and the sidewalk setback, the rapid flashing beacons would improve pedestrian safety. It is a recommendation of staff and the design engineer, per the attached letter, that the proposed crosswalk and 2 rapid flashing beacons be installed on the east side of the 12th Street and Central Avenue intersection. If it pleases council, approve the 2024 Spring Streets project as presented by staff.
All right, thank you, Greg. Excuse me. Thanks, Greg. Council comments? Anyone?
Yeah, I need you to, road mapping for dummies. Walk me through this. Where is everything going to be? So I'm going to start back at 10th.
Sure.
Where Coos Bay Vision is. That's
Sure.
on the east side, right?
Yeah, that's the Coos Bay Vision is on the northeast corner of 10th and Central.
Okay, so then Going south is going towards Ocean Boulevard.
Going west is going towards Ocean Boulevard, so going up the hill.
Okay? So up the hill is north.
West.
West. Up the hill is west.
Yes, towards Ocean.
Back towards downtown is east.
Correct.
Going towards Mingus Park is north.
Correct.
Come back towards Marshfield is south.
Yes.
Okay. So I am on the north side of the street. That's where the sidewalk is.
Correct.
And it goes up and deadheads at the south part of 12th.
No, that'd be the south side of Central as you're going west. I think we have an exhibit.
Yeah, I'm looking at it.
It goes all the way up Central.
So the sidewalk on the south side of Central terminates at 12th Street. The sidewalk on the north side of Central goes all the way up to, I believe it's 13th. And then it stops there. We have a crosswalk with a rapid flashing beacon at 13th.
Okay. So if you're walking on the McKay side,
Correct.
going up the hill, you get to 12th, and that's where we're talking about at dead ends.
Correct.
That turns into a rock wall.
That the sidewalk terminates there
Okay.
on this side of 12th.
Okay, correct.
And so where I'm proposing, or where the engineer and the design is proposing to install the crosswalk is on this side of 12th.
Okay.
With the installation of a crosswalk and 2 rapid flashing beacons.
Going across Central.
Going across Central, where
It's
the
going to pick back up.
travel lanes that are headed up the hill come together.
And that's where there's going to be a bike lane there as well, correct?
There's a bike lane being installed on the eastbound side, because the bike lane comes down the hill, it stops at 13th due to the retaining wall, and then picks back up at 12th Street.
Okay, so there's that block and a half or 2 blocks where there's nothing there.
Correct.
And we're going to make a bike lane?
Yes,
there.
sir.
So there'll be a solid bike lane from downtown all the way up the hill and around to carry on to Ocean.
The bike lane going up the hill will start at 12th Street.
Okay? And it'll go all the way up to 13th.
And it'll go all the way up Ocean Boulevard.
And then catch, okay. So on the Mingus Park side of the road, what's going to happen on there?
There's, other than the the widened bike lane,
Okay.
there's no improvements planned for that side of the road, other than restriping that side of the road.
Okay, but the bike lane is only going to be on the Marshfield High School side of the road.
There's going to be a brand-new bike lane installed on the south side, or the eastbound lane
Okay.
of Central, and a wider bike lane installed on the westbound side.
Okay. So there'll be a bike lane on both sides?
A compliant bike lane on both sides, with the removal of the non-compliant center turn lane.
Okay. So if I'm coming down the hill and I go to 10th, is there still going to be a left-hand turn lane there?
There will.
Okay.
And the bike lane terminates at 11th. It stops
There's a left-hand turn lane coming down the hill?
at
To
10th.
Okay.
Yes.
There's a light right there.
At the traffic signal.
It's the main road.
Okay.
But it's not a turn lane. It's just, you can turn left, and then
Oh.
there's a right-hand turn.
Correct.
There is not a
Correct.
left-hand.
There is not a turn.
Right.
Sorry.
Correct.
Okay.
A lot of left and right.
And then other than that, there'll be 2 clear lanes of traffic.
Correct.
Okay. Is there enough space for all that?
With the removal of the non-compliant center turn lane, there is.
Okay. So no one will be able to turn on the 12th?
No, you sure can, yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
But there won't
it's-
be a dedicated turn lane for it?
Right now, the dedicated turn lane that is there is not wide enough, it's not compliant. Our city standard is a 14-foot center left turn lane. This center turn lane, I think, is at its widest is 7 foot.
Okay. Thank you for your patience.
Oh, no.
Dragging me through this.
Good questions, thank
Not-
you.
Not that it matters, but I've never been lost in the woods my life. And I'm always the one everybody looks to directional, and I'm looking at this, and I don't know which way is left or right. So, thank you.
You're welcome.
I know it didn't appear that way.
You're good. That stays between us. Nobody else has to be here.
And everyone here.
Stephanie, you had a question?
Yes, just a question on the rapid flashing beacon. There's one on each side of the road, so you can push that either side to cross.
Correct.
Central. what is happening to the one that's uphill from 12th?
There's no plan improvements with that at all.
So that's going away, or is it going to stay?
It's going to stay.
Can we remove it?
And use it some place where it would be beneficial?
I don't.
I mean, I don't get what the point is of having it there if, I mean, you could literally be in a car going up that road, and if there's one person on each side of the street, somebody could hit it there across the road, and then the other person could hit it up the hill. It doesn't make sense to have two there.
So I think.
What's the point?
So I think the point of the rapid flashing beacons in general are there for pedestrian safety. So whatever the determination is for a rapid flashing beacon at that location was a determination when it was installed. I think
Right,
that
but you're putting a new one in, that makes more sense.
once again, when we go up, let's say we're coming up the south side sidewalk, we're getting to the newly installed crosswalk, and we have to cross over because the sidewalk terminates at that newly installed crosswalk and rapid flashing beacon. As we traverse across 12th Street to the north side of Central, we go up to 13th, and I believe that the sidewalk terminates at that point, and we have to move pedestrian traffic back to the south side. So we don't have a sidewalk, an improved sidewalk on the north side of Central. The sidewalk terminates at that location, so we have to move traffic, pedestrian traffic, back to the south side to the improved sidewalk that runs along Ocean Boulevard.
I know, I understand why you're doing it. I'm just saying human nature is the shortest distance between 2 points is a straight line. They're not gonna cross at two different places to get down the hill. And I think that light could be better served in another location. Just doesn't make sense to me, but that's my 2 cents.
Councilor Kilmer, I appreciate your comments. I also, you explained that so eloquently to Councilor Cribbins. I'm going to ask Nicole, and this is a request I've asked a number of times. We are here to serve at the pleasure of the citizens, and I would love for these maps to be up on screen so that our community can see exactly what we're talking about when we're having these conversations. So, that's all I have to say.
All right, any other comments?
Also, just one other comment on the access on the upper flashing, rapid flashing light. That will also be striped so that people know that that's a pedestrian crosswalk. I mean, I understand that there's pedestrian crosswalks, whether they're marked or not. But if it's such a place where we need to have a rapid flashing light, I think that the striping needs to be on the road as well. And that it's very, very clear that that is also a place where cars may have to stop.
At the rapid flashing beacon on 13th?
Yes.
I believe it is.
Yeah, I just want
Yeah.
to, I know it is, but
Okay.
I just want to make sure that it's not faded or anything else.
No, that will be maintained.
So, Greg, this is going to go out for our RFP, am I correct?
Correct.
So this will come back to us with some bids, and we can do another analysis at that time and discuss it again, correct?
Correct.
All right. So, Council, how would you like to move forward?
I'll make a motion to approve the 2024-2025 Spring Streets project as presented by staff.
I'll second that.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Hearing none, it passes. Thank you, Greg.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Next item is consideration to approve the contract for the repair of the fire station number 1 HVAC system. Chief Anderson.
Good evening, Mayor and Council.
Good evening.
So, just a quick background. Last November, our HVAC system or heating system failed. It's become quite a bit of a, unfortunately, a common occurrence. And our local HVAC repair contractor identified that really the outside units, the condensing units, are too small. He gave us an estimate at that time for $127,500 to replace those with larger condensing units. And we don't have that kind of money lying around. The city doesn't, we don't have the capital to be able to do that. So city staff solicited or went out and looked for grant funding. We found a grant through the Oregon Department of Energy for $100,000 so that covers most of the repairs. We were successful in getting that grant. City council, you folks, approved that grant back in August. So then staff went out, because it's over the $75,000 threshold, we had to go out for RFQ, or request for qualifications or quotes. That went out, and we received one bid. That bid was from a contractor out of Battleground, Washington, for $142,558. If we add a 15% contingency to that, that would bring the cost of the project not to exceed $163,941. And you're probably saying, okay, so how do we pay for that? So, like I said, we have a grant for $100,000 of that. The additional funding we would have to come up with on our own. We estimate that we can come up with about $10,000 out of our general fund, building maintenance fund, and then the balance of that, or the remaining balance, would have to come out of our equipment reserve fund. So what we have set aside for fire trucks and other essential equipment. I don't like to have to do that, but that's kind of the situation we're in, to maximize the grant funds, and also to get that system up and running the way it should be. We are not stopping and looking for grant funds. There are other opportunities, and we hope to leverage those as best we can to cover the cost of the project. So, having said all that, therefore, if it pleases the council, we ask that you approve the contract with Apex Mechanical out of Battleground, Washington, in the amount of $142,558, plus a 15% contingency for a total not to exceed $163,941 for the repair of the fire station HVAC system. Any questions?
Yes. So, is there a time frame on this grant?
I believe we have 2 years period of performance for the grant.
Well, my only concern is, Chief, is that this is considerably more than we anticipated, right?
It is.
And so is it, was there any thought about going out and getting another bid and seeing if we can get somebody else?
Yes. So it was a difficult weekend. I kept flip-flopping back and forth between whether or not to recommend you approve or deny. And after not just careful consideration of the budget, but also recommendation from other staff that are more familiar with the RFQ process, there are a lot of nuances to the state purchasing that I am not familiar with. And it seems like, again, from other staff members that are more familiar with the project or more familiar with state purchasing laws or procurement laws, it may be problematic to postpone. So even though it's more than we were expecting, it's 12% more than what we had anticipated, it's still the direction that staff is suggesting.
Okay, it's just that, this additional cost will come out of contingency, which means that we could be limited down the road for something else. And so that was my only concern. And with that being the case, and this is a bid, and I'm going to ask staff and whoever was involved in this decision, why do we need the 15% on this case? Could we just hold their feet to the fire? It's a HVAC system. They decided to bid on it. That's where it's at. So why should we have a 15% gratuity, which would make up the difference to the 12% increase?
Right. Good question, and I would ask the same question. It makes a lot of sense that if they're bidding $142,000, we should hold them to that. There may be some unforeseen things, and it's pretty much standard procedure that with any RFQ that we add a contingency. In the case there's something that's unforeseen that the contractor wouldn't necessarily be responsible for, but that we would be responsible for. We're not going to give them the contingency unless we're not going to dip into that unless it's absolutely necessary.
I hope not, because, I understand the contingency that we put in place for, like, roads and repairs and stuff like that, but this seems to be a little bit different situation than
Sure.
a road. So, I hope that's not the
What
case.
are, just out of curiosity, because you know my thoughts on contingencies, what is the process if we don't approve the contingency with us and something comes back? And they come to you and say, look, we need another
Sure.
$10,000.
So if you approve it, the 142,000 and change, without a contingency, and the contractor were to run into something, let's say, we have to upgrade the electrical system, that would be on us to take care of, or we'd have to come back to council for a change order. Either one are reasonable. It just could delay the process.
Chief, I may ask, so essentially, if we approve the 15% contingency and they were to use all of it, I think if I've done my math correctly, that's about $53K that would come out of the Equipment Reserve Fund. How much money do we have in that fund?
I really wasn't prepared to answer that, but I do have the answer right here. Well, we currently have $437,000. And then we anticipate adding several things that have been budgeted, whether it's a percentage of our contract district fees. We have a request through our contract districts for additional funding to support fire engine purchase that we've committed to. And we also have some interest payments that will be coming in from that. And then we also have been very active this summer with contractual fires, sending assistance to conflagrations and other fires around the state. It's not a revenue generator, but we do get compensated for that, and that whatever is over and above our expenses would go into our equipment reserve fund. Do we have enough? Yes, we have enough, but again, every penny that comes out of our savings account means that that's one less penny we can spend on either essential equipment or fire trucks that are, quite frankly, outpacing our ability to pay for them. So it's a concern, but it is certainly, again, something that is within our budget to do. And like I said, we're not done looking for grant funding.
Sure. Okay, thank you very much.
Sure.
Nicole?
Thank you, Chief, for kind of walking the extra mile there. A couple things I would add. If we don't add the contingency, and I agree this is kind of a really interesting scenario, but there are things that could come up. For example, this company did not install that system. There may be a piece of that system that's different now than when it was installed. It may need to be an addition. It's not part of maybe their plans. Secondly, I would say if we don't walk the path of contingency today, you've only authorized that flat 142. We have to come back to you. It would be a holdup in that process. And then thirdly, we are working with Energy Trust of Oregon. You know, we just did that with the pool boiler, successfully got some funds back on that. It's very possible they can help us navigate repair units that meet their standards, which would give us those incentive dollars. So.
Okay, so council, any other, go ahead.
Yeah, I have two more questions.
Sure.
Did this company, when they bid this project, did they come look at the unit?
No, they didn't, and that makes me a little bit uncomfortable, but they are a reputable company. I did check their references, and they come highly recommended.
And I forgot the second question.
And I can't answer
Oh,
that.
I know what it was. And I think for the public that is here, what is our record of having to, I don't know if you want to take a period, or generally, we don't have to go into that contingency, or we have had to go into the contingency and utilize contingencies. What's kind of our record?
Where would you like us to pull that from? And the reason I say that is we do street projects, you know where we land with contingencies there. Wastewater projects, again, you know. So,
And the reason that I bring up this point, because the mayor brought up the fact that, you know, he understood why we do this for streets. We can't see what necessarily is under the pavement. But in this instance, this is a unit that is above ground and could, but that's why I asked that question.
Yeah, no, it's absolutely fair. Just wanting to make sure the scope we're responsive to, because if we take all contingencies, I'd say we're probably at a 97% usage across the board. I do think there's more than just a unit. There's components, you know, parts to a process, this whole, infrastructure, I guess, if we'll use that word. So that's the uncertainty. The more you add pieces to the puzzle, the more possibility there could be some uncertainties there, which would cause that contingency to be needed. I think I'd like to say that we are frugal with those dollars. We do make them proof out across the board. They come forward with a change order, and staff will speak to, not just go on site and review. They'll bring in the engineer who helped design. I mean, there will be some conversations around the request to confirm that it's legitimate before we authorize that.
Thank you.
Okay, so any other questions? All right, hearing none. Council, how would you like to proceed? Oh, and Carmen, Councilor Matthews is online also. Thanks for popping your, thanks, Carmen, thanks. So,
I'll move to approve the contract with Apex Mechanical in the amount of $142,558 plus a 15% contingency for a total not to exceed $163,942 for the repair of the fire station 1 HVAC system.
I'll second.
okay, it's been moved and seconded to approve the contract with Apex Mechanical for the repair of the fire station number 1 HVAC system. Any other comments or discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, it passes. Next item on the agenda is review and approval of recommended legislative priorities for the League of Oregon Cities 2024 ballot response. Nicole, you want to explain what this is all about?
Yeah, I will definitely give you a little bit of background. So the League of Oregon Cities provides many different services to the cities throughout the state of Oregon. One of those is kind of the lobbying arm. We are given the opportunity to provide what our interest is as far as changes that the state legislature might consider in the upcoming session. The process that the League of Oregon Cities uses is by setting up policy committees. They then appoint those committees with members from cities across the state. There were 7 committees in this session that were set up, and we had representatives from Coos Bay on every committee, which is, I think, a first. So we were able to weigh in on each of those. Those committees range from community economic development, energy and environment, finance and taxation, general government, broadband, cybersecurity, artificial intelligence, and telecommunication. That was my committee, and it was a huge topic. Lots of learning there. Transportation, and then wastewater and water. Those committees meet varying times, but there's about 3 months of the year that they meet pretty regularly to put together what they believe is the best options to support in the next session. And that becomes what they consider their ballot. That ballot then goes out to all of the 241 cities in the state, and we are asked to tell them our top 5 priorities. We briefly talked about this at a previous meeting, just to give you a slight introduction. And we are here tonight as we need to complete our ballot to share with the League of Oregon Cities so they understand the city's desire moving forward for next session. We are recommending as staff the following as our top 5. Of course, you may make a selection contrary to that, but those top 5 would be the 2025 transportation package. We talk infrastructure all the time. That's pretty significant for us here. The infrastructure funding, which, so the first one was under the Transportation Committee, so it's specific to roads. The infrastructure funding, which that was supported by both the Water and Wastewater Committee and the Community and Economic Development Committee. So it's a dual supported piece. We also are recommending full funding and alignment for housing production, which was brought forward by the Community and Economic Development Committee, and that is focused towards meeting the governor's already established goals, kind of helping local meet those needs. Restoration of recreational immunity, that's under General Government Committee. You might remember in the short session they did a little bit of a fix, but we want them to finish that task so that it restores recreational immunity. And then the final is shelter and homeless response, again brought forward by the Community and Economic Development Committee. So we are looking for your guidance and what you would like for us to push forward for the city of Coos Bay.
So I can tell you that, thank you. I got a call from Patty Mulville, the executive director of LOC, League of Oregon Cities, stating that, basically it was an email asking that we have some representation on the South Coast because there's no other cities that were stepping forward with representation. So I reached out to Nicole, and I served on one of the committees, and as she stated, we were able to fill a spot on every committee. And so I'm pleased that we were able to interact and be part of it. So I think that we definitely have an understanding of this under the scenario that we were able to participate. So I would recommend this. Also, if we adopt this, I definitely want us to address an issue that has been brought up by League of Oregon Cities from other entities and cities that I think that we should oppose, but we can address that after if we decide to go ahead with this or not. So, is there any questions, first of all, or discussion on these 5 items that have been suggested?
I concur with your remarks, Mayor Benetti. I think these are the appropriate items to move forward. And I too, we know that the League of Oregon Cities is interested in a change in the modification of the transient lodging tax dollars. So after this decision is made, I would like to make a request of the city.
And I think it's important to everyone understand, these are just recommendations. They have to go to the legislature. They're going to, if they pick these 5, and I would hope that would be the case, but probably they won't pick all 5 that we think is the best. These are just, they're going to be advocating legislative change or initiatives to happen. And so there's still a big process to go forward on it. So, anyone else?
I have a motion.
Okay, go ahead.
Provide
Please.
approval of the city of Coos Bay's preferred top 5 2025-2026 legislative priorities and authorize the city manager to forward it to the League of Oregon Cities.
Second.
So moving to second to put forward the Coos Bay's preferred top 5 2025-26 legislative priorities to the League of Oregon Cities. Is there any other comments? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. All in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
So I'd like at this time have TLT, the transient lodging tax, that was also one of the ones that were being considered, and Lucinda DeNovo, the Councilor DeNovo, also is the chair for Travel Oregon, and she has a comment about that and how we should proceed with that item.
I do, but I sit with my city council hat this evening, Mayor Benetti, so I would like council to consider writing a letter in opposition of the modification of the transient lodging tax dollars. That has been a successful program. It is we just celebrated our 20th anniversary. Mayor Benetti, back 20 years ago when he was on, I think he was mayor at the time, was a supporter of that tax, and the transient lodging tax came from the industry wanting us to do better in terms of driving tourists into this state. And today, I'm happy to report that visitor spending in 2023 was $14 billion. It represents approximately 120,000 jobs locally in Coos Bay. It's about 4,100 jobs and about $329 million in visitor spend. So I'm very concerned. I know that we're always looking for opportunities at the state and League of Oregon Cities for opportunities to improve programs, but this is an incredibly successful program and it's working. And I'm remiss in saying what it was in back 20 years ago. I apologize. I've got Janice here. I don't remember. I think it was, well, obviously it was much less, but I would encourage this council to consider opposing the opposing this initiative. It's been such a successful program, and we see it in the numbers, we see it in the number of jobs in this community, and it would be such a tragedy to see those dollars being used elsewhere.
So, and I think it's important to, League of Oregon Cities was down here, and Janice was there, myself and some others, and we were strongly opposing this and explained to them, the way it states, it's 70-30 split. But what's not being stated, that anything prior to this legislative action, the cities were able to utilize those funds, and they were grandfathered in to use however they wish. I know Jim Behrens is on here, and he sent us a letter that stated that we should basically support TLT changes. But we don't, and the majority on the coast, 50-50 is what it is. It's not 70-30, so it's really a misrepresentation when they say 70-30, they want to change, because if you took all the TLT dollars on the coast, 50% are still being used by the city, and the other 50% is being used for promotions. And so I think that we need to keep it that way. It's been successful, it's proven successful, and I definitely support that we should write a letter to LOC advocating that we leave it alone and let it be. So anyway, anyone else want to chime in or make any comments to this?
I do.
Yes.
For clarification, because I'm not sure everyone fully understands it. We understand where the money comes from. Where does it go? Where does it come back to? And what's it used for? And what are they suggesting the changes are?
Where does it go?
It
Do that
goes
one
to
more
the
time,
state.
Trey. Where does it go?
So when it's collected, it goes to the state.
It goes to the state, and then it goes to the state, and then the state tax. So that this is layered. So if
Right.
you want me to go, so 1.5% goes to the state. That goes to Travel Oregon. Travel Oregon uses those dollars to promote the state. There is also a portion that the community collects, and as Joe said, goes to the municipalities, and then a portion of that goes to the local DMO. The DMO uses those dollars
DMO, what does that mean?
Thank you, Destination Marketing Organization. The local DMO uses those dollars to promote the area. What I will point out is, this is not a tax. This is on lodging stays, right? Any sort of lodging stay. So this isn't a tax that the citizens are paying. It is a tax that a person pays when they're staying at a hotel or an RV park or a vacation rental. Did that answer the question, Troy?
Okay, so the entirety of it's 9.5%, right?
Here, it's
Here,
different
it-
all
Well,
over.
right, it's
Yep.
in each municipality, but for us, it's 9.5%.
Correct.
The state gets 1.5% to go to Travel Oregon.
Correct.
The rest is divvied up between the municipality and the DMO.
The DMO, yep, the Destination Marketing
Janice.
Organization. In this place, the Coos Bay North Bend Visitor and Conventions Bureau.
So some of this is generalities, but I'm just trying to get it out there.
1.5 and 9.5, those are two separate.
Okay, so they're two separate. Okay, so the 9.5 is what's divided between the municipality and the DMO.
Yeah, right.
And then we're able to use that money for whatever we choose related to travel and promoting the area, correct?
Correct. So, but that point, that 9.5, not that total amount, is not split 70-30, because prior to the legislative action in 2002, that was grandfathered in. So whatever was collected prior to that was the cities were able to use it in whatever fashion they wanted. So you need to keep that in mind.
So again, so it's more than 9.5?
No, it's less
So
than
I thought the
1.9.
9.5, we got to keep all of it.
No, we don't. Well,
So-
we do, but we don't, the split's not 70-30. That legislative action in 2002 said anything from this point on collected or increased.
70-30.
So locally, Troy, so here's how this plays out. So 9.5 comes here. The city of Coos Bay keeps 2/7 of the 5/7 of the, no, 5/7 of the 7, gosh. No, I
Good
got
try.
it, Janice. Let's see if I can do it. Keeps 5/7 of the original amount. They keep that. Then another tax was passed. What's the year, Janice? 2019, that added 2.5%. 70% of that goes to the DMO. 30% of that goes to the city. It's very complicated. So when Joe is talking about this split, it's not equal, and that is just this city. Let me be very clear that all cities are different.
I got you. So what is the state recommending the change? What do they want?
Well, the state cannot advocate on this matter. We are here, Travel Oregon cannot. The League of Oregon Cities is requesting a change in the use of those dollars. And what I'm saying as a city councilor is, why would we take dollars? We have a program that's been successful for the last 20 years that currently employs 118,000 employees and is a $14 billion industry in Oregon. It's a key industry. Why would we do anything to change that?
So what is the League of Oregon Cities suggesting we use it for?
I think what is in what you're asking, and because I asked this question too of some other people, not locally. In some places like the North Coast, they have a large influx of tourism, and it impacts services that local citizens receive. So they are asking that some of that money be available to help fund police or public safety, for example. And right now, that is not allowed.
No. But
But
the faulty part of that is that, first of all, this has been successful and made them successful to the point they were. Prior to that, it wasn't. And so why do you want to change success? Number two,
when you say they, who's they?
The North Coast, whoever wants to change it.
Okay, gotcha.
Whatever city wants to change it.
So there's
And I'm not
communities that are
here
wanting to change
And I've
this.
had this discussion with those mayors, and we do not agree. But, and as I said to them, and I'm going to tell you, prior to the 2002, they didn't have this kind of problem because they didn't have this kind of tourism. But because of the change, they were able to make promotions and utilize those dollars, which has increased their revenue considerably. So it's a nice problem, I guess, is what part of it is.
Right.
Second of all, the way that this is fashioned, this legislative action that they're suggesting, it's not specific. It doesn't say how much, and it doesn't say what it's going to be used for. So it's arbitrary. So, that's another thing. I can tell you that Travel Oregon will not make a recommendation in this, but I can tell you Orla, Oregon Restaurant Lodging Association, they do not support this. They have not supported it in the past, and they have gone against the legislation with LOC, and they've defeated it, and they will continue to do so. They don't advocate this because you're taking away from hotels, restaurants, and all kinds of retail that this benefits.
So let me ask you this. If the change goes into place, it's mandatory, right? It'll all have to go. If the change doesn't go into place, whatever cities are for it, are they not allowed to use the money they're getting now to do those very things they're talking about?
It's very specific how
So
it
they
can
have
be
to,
used.
okay. So they have to keep, I realize I'm being very general here, but, so they have to keep making themselves successful then, right?
Well,
I mean, they, like you said, they didn't have the issue before because they didn't have the tourism there. They've got these transient lodging taxing dollars. They've improved their communities. They've improved tourism, which has created an influx of people and some other difficulties associated with it. Now they're saying we should take some of that money and we should divert it to help offset some of those difficulties.
Correct.
And you're saying you've created that own issue. So then another question is, the increased tourism, doesn't that increase the general fund tax rolls?
Yes.
Secondarily?
Yes.
Which
They've
should
had-
offset some of those issues?
Exactly. They've had more building, more hotels, more restaurants, more all kinds of tax-generated institutions or economic development that's created this. So in my mind, I agree with you. That's the offset that this creates, which is a benefit.
Well,
Thank you.
If I could just offer a different perspective, I've really struggled with this when I saw this come across the proposal from League of Oregon Cities, only because I have, a spouse that was a park ranger for years, and if you recall, the funding, some of the funding for that came from license production, correct?
What now?
The funding for state parks came from a license fee that people.
Technically, yes.
Yes. And we have seen that split many directions to the point now where state parks receive very little of that money. And it's diverted to other things. I think it's a slippery slope once you start taking the original intent of a piece of legislative action, we tend to see that slope gain momentum in other directions. So that's just my 2 cents.
Yeah, I appreciate you saying that, Stephanie. I mean, I think we've seen so much success, the county with the Whiskey Run bike trails, the number of visitors that we receive. There's talks about potentially building a campground, right, to drive more visitation to this community. And so those people spending time in this community, going to the restaurants, going to the grocery stores, staying in the hotels, motels, RV parks, all of that is incredibly beneficial. And so I think, Troy, the point you were trying to make is, if it's not broke, then let's continue to move on. What a terrible problem to have is a success. And Councillor Kilmer, I completely agree with you that if we change it, it is indeed a slippery slope, and we can't go back.
Yeah, and on top of it, just to go with the state parks, if I understand correctly, they used to get lottery funds. They were dedicated, lottery funds dedicated strictly for state parks, and we didn't have the issues that we do now with state parks. Now they're taking those state lottery funds and using it in other ways. So that's what the fear is that I would have also. They get to be used in other ways, and then precinct tourism doesn't become successful like it is. So anyway, anyone else, comments? Okay, so Lucinda, you're going to make a...
I just one more. I suppose this is more ideological. I suppose really the intent with this would be that at some point it would be successful enough it could just sunset because we wouldn't need it anymore.
Yeah, but when is it going to...
Yes,
You're
clearly
right.
not now, but my
Well-
point would be at some point we can take care of ourselves. This was to help us get there.
It could be,
And
I
it
guess.
still is.
Anyway,
I wasn't
all right.
suggesting that. I'm just saying ideologically.
We'll go have some coffee and talk
Yes.
about this. All right, okay.
And
All right.
thank you for the lottery. I don't know why I got stuck on license plates. I knew it was an L.
Do we need a motion for this, or is there consensus that we write a letter in opposition?
I have a
of
motion.
You would like a motion? Okay. I'll make a motion or did you want to do the motion,
No.
Troy? Okay. I would like to make a motion that the city of Coos Bay write a letter in opposition of modification of the usage of transient lodging tax dollars.
I'll second.
Okay, there's been a motion to oppose the transportation change to the legislation of 7030 or TLT. So anyway, motion and second. Any other comments?
Can I pop in?
Absolutely.
I'm just looking at the MIDI notes on here, and it doesn't say specifically like what the split would be or like what it has to be spent on. Is there like a requirement in the way that it's supposed to be spent? Because it just...
You mean the 50% or 30% or 70%?
Is it saying...
Pardon?
Oh, yeah, I guess, what is the split? I mean, it explains that it's 70-30 right now, but then it just says something about cities must be allowed to strike balance between tourism promotion and meeting the needs of increased service delivery for tourists.
Right, the 7030 is from 2002 to now. So anything new from that point on, any increase in TLT or transportation lodge or in a tourism tax, then would have to be 7030. Anything prior to that, there is no stipulation.
But the dollars need to be spent on visitor promotion.
From 2002 up, 70% does, the other 30% doesn't. Does that answer your question, Carmen, or just confuse you more?
I guess, yeah, I don't know. It
is complicated.
It is. I'm still not totally set on it personally, and I am definitely a beneficiary of, in my private, stance from increased promotions. But just speaking from a city councilor's point of view, parks and public safety and infrastructure also has a large bill. So I don't know. I guess I'm just not seeing like a very specific layout of that. It's more of like more discretion to the cities to strike the balance between promotion and meeting service needs. And I see why other towns where they're just getting blasted because they have a big tour ship come in or something like that, and they have 5,000 people dropped off. That would be intense, so it would be a lot for our community too. We're not seeing that kind of influx of tourism, but at some point that might be our problem too. So I guess I'm just wondering if that does make sense. But I will lean towards those who are most familiar with it. So I'll go along with where we're going.
Okay, any other comments? Okay, I'll call for the question. All in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, it passes. E, further discussion and clarification regarding street standards. Jennifer.
Thank you. At the May 2024 work session, council discussed rescinding the policy that allowed the reduced street standards. At the June 4th council meeting, the council rescinded the policy and placed the responsibility of full-width street improvements on the property owner. At those meetings, the case study that was presented to the council was a lot adjacent to an undeveloped right-of-way. Since the policy was rescinded, 2 properties adjacent to existing gravel roads are proposing new single-family residential homes. So I've included those locations in your staff report, and if you'd like to view them, we can on the screen. Staff is seeking clarification from council regarding the intent of the June decision. At a minimum, both properties will be required to improve the gravel road to a 20-foot wide, all-weather access as a result of the fire code requirement. But staff is seeking clarification if it was the intent of council to also require the full street width improvements to bring the gravel roads up to city standards, or if the intent was only for unimproved right-of-ways.
I'd like to say thank you for the visual on screen. I appreciate that, Jennifer. Mayor Benetti?
Yes.
I thought you'd lead this conversation. I jumped in, saving time for you, sorry.
I know. I'm sorry. I look at the phone because sometimes I get council comments or interaction that I need to take care of. So the thing is on this, Jennifer, so when you came to the council before, there was a suggestion by the staff that we have a regulation and standards for all streets that we impose. And now we are asking to reconsider this because of some other situations that have come up on homes. Am I correct?
That is correct.
So
Yeah, I have comments too. I didn't get to sign the paper because I thought that was only for the beginning.
as far as what, streets?
Yeah. Yes.
Well, we're,
affecting me too.
well, if you want to make comments at the end, that's fine, but we're not taking public comments on this item unless, do we need to for some reason?
I was told that there would be time to.
Yeah, me too.
Ma'am?
That's why I'm here.
Okay.
So this does not have a public hearing attached to it, but you can certainly take comments at the end, which was what you spoke about earlier, so.
So, I mean, but, okay, for some reason, these individuals feel there should be a public comment here, or they thought there would be a public comment for this item. Is that something that should have happened?
So I think when members of staff talked with these folks earlier, it was discussed that they would be able to come and speak during public comments in the 3 minutes, you know, everyone else is getting. I think the format of tonight is a little contrary to a regular meeting because it's busy. There's a lot on the agenda, so.
Well,
I don't think they were clear that they had to make those comments during the public comment period. They
I was
thought,
told not to make them during the road.
When you brought this up.
Yeah.
so the format that we've used in the past that has changed.
What I was told when I came in is you don't make them at the beginning if it's something that's on the agenda. That's what they said. If it's on the agenda, you make comments during that time.
well, that's not quite true, and unfortunately, I don't know who told you that, but unless it's put on there that we will take public comments on the agenda item, then that's going to be the case. Is that what was stated to them?
Yes, I'm sorry, that's what I said.
Okay, so under that circumstance, we'll go ahead and take some public comments, but let's get the staff report and discussion, and then we'll open it up for public comments since you were told that, okay? All right, so to go back to what I was stating, we were given one suggestion, and we went ahead and instituted that there would be standards, and we adopted that. So there was going to be standards for everything. And now, under some discussions and individuals that came back, it was suggested that we probably should revisit this with probably making some changes. Am I correct?
We rewatched the work session, and we just wanted to make sure that we were following your intent. And so we had these questions, and then that's why we're back here. Gravel roads were never discussed.
Okay. So that's what we're really addressing is the gravel roads.
Correct.
Okay. Is there any other questions for staff before I open public comments? Or open a public hearing on this, excuse me.
Well, it's not a public
not a
hearing,
public
it's
hearing.
just a public comment.
What's the difference?
So, not to split hairs, but a public hearing requires public notice, so people are,
Okay.
yeah. So
And
you're
we
just-
should have
you're
done
just
that, correct?
accepting.
We should have given public notice.
No, this doesn't require that.
Well, but
Yeah.
that's what they were given the indication on. So under that scenario, we should have done it, we didn't do it, so it'll be public comments.
I think
All right.
the staff had indicated something different than what our policy is for this, and I think she just indicated they could make a comment.
I am, and
Not-
we're gonna have a comment.
Yeah.
So instead of a public hearing,
not a hearing.
which we should have notified, makes a difference, we're gonna make a public comment. So, anyone? Sir? Okay, we'll go one at a time. We'll hear all the ones that need to talk on this. So I'm gonna have public comments on this item. Who wants to go first? Okay.
Okay, sounds good. Do I have to state my name?
Just
Okay.
name and city, yes.
My name's Crystal Orr and I live in Myrtle Point. So I was asked to represent the property owner, Dan Roschert. I don't know if that's how you say his last name. He owns 3 parcels off of 17th and Iowa. Some 17th and Iowa are non-conforming gravel roadways within the city. And I was told that at least 17th Street is actually in maintenance with the city of Coos Bay. So I was told that if one of the parcels were to be sold, they'd have to bring it up to standards. So they went, the property owner got a proposal from Knife River, and it was $580,000. And so then he asked me to help him with this anyway. And in the, I don't know what it's called, it's not the ordinance, it's something else with the city of Coos Bay. What's it called? The code. In the code, it says, in 18.15.060, it says that developers are responsible for constructing, siding, and striping new street facilities and improvements, and improving existing roadways as required for development such as subdivisions and commercial buildings. It also says that maintenance of the roadway improvements within those dedicated right-of-ways is the responsibility of the developer until formal acceptance of the roadway by the city council. And if the roadway has already been accepted as a road, then then the city would maintain it, correct?
Maintain the road once it's established, you mean?
Once it's accepted as in the city council and accepted into the maintenance agreement, right?
We'll maintain the streets and the gravel streets depending on the situation,
Okay.
yes. But any development at this point in time, like this is being suggested, then it was indicated that you would have to bring them up to standards, which, as you stated.
It says for subdivisions and commercial buildings, it doesn't say for residential.
I think we're splitting hairs here, but you want to address that, somebody? Who wants to address it?
Well, that's the city municipal code. The fire code requires a 20-foot wide paved access road, and it doesn't say anything about the extra things you were talking about. So at least it needs to be brought up to a 20-foot wide paved surface. The real question is, and what we're asking clarification with council was, does that also include curbs, gutters, and sidewalks?
And does it also, I mean, this is a non-conforming gravel roadway that's been in existence for how many years? And I mean, he has like this, I mean, you have this map, but he has this little piece of property right here. If you look at the next map, you can see how many different people are accessing off of that road. And we're gonna make him pay $580,000 to update this so that all those people can use that access. And I don't know if proportionally he should be required to pay for that. I could see from the prior agenda where you had that picture of an infill lot that, yeah, that would be required. But for this, it doesn't seem like proportionally it would be required.
And I understand what you're saying, but I guess it's going to determine, and that's what we'll make this discussion and determine how we want to move forward. But we have, whatever we decide on, then that's going to be implemented throughout the city. And so we need to determine how that will impact all the other entities or similar projects like this. And so that's the concern. So anyway, I understand what you're saying, and I totally understand that would be a very expensive situation for this individual under the circumstances or under the codes that we have now.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Vivian Miller, and in November of last year, I purchased 3 lots off of Minnesota. And at that time, I was told that a new provision would be starting this year. But at the time when I purchased this and started the development, I was told that I could do a privately maintained street under this section. It said city streets will not be constructed or added to its existing inventory of street maintained streets or access roads unless they meet all standards provided under CMB 18.15.010. However, in cases where public street standards cannot be met, the developer may elect with concurrence with standards cannot be met, the developer may elect with concurrence with Public Works to construct a privately maintained access road to serve an infill development. Said privately maintained access road shall be constructed on private property. Privately maintained streets and access roads may be developed exclusively within private property, and the following conditions shall be applied. The maximum number of dwelling units potentially served by the access road shall be 3, which I'm developing 3 houses. Streets have the potential to serve more than 3 dwelling units must meet the requirements. Sidewalks shall not be required. The street or access road service must be constructed of all weather surface, which can include gravel. The first 25 linear feet of the intersection shall be paved, not the whole 300 feet that the city is now requiring me to, or 600 feet, which is now the city is requiring me to do, which is well above $500,000 to $600,000 that you're now requiring me. So I'm not understanding. When I started this, I was under these conditions, but now because I did not get my building permit in time, now the city is saying I now have to do a paved road with sidewalks and gutters and all of that stuff. But when I started my construction, I was under this. So I am asking the city to let me do a privately maintained, because my property is in an area where there is nothing but easements. So the city has not put in any streets. You are now requiring me to put in a street, and it is my understanding that when I pay to put in this street, you guys are going to take it over. So I'm having a hard problem with that. Plus, you're asking me to put in a fire hydrant, which I have no problem with that because it is forestry. So I'm asking to work with me. I'll bring in the water line, but can you guys please put in the fire hydrant for me? I mean, work with me. I asked in the beginning if you guys had LIDs, like most cities and counties have LIDs for developers, where you work with me to bring in the utilities and the streets. And y'all said, well, are you planning to put in 30 houses?
Ma'am.
And I said, no, I'll put in 3 houses.
Your
And you
time-
guys said,
your
no,
time's
we're
up.
not going to help you.
Okay,
So
time's up.
I'm asking, okay, thank you.
All right. Next.
Scott Cooper, Executive Director, AYA, Coos Bay, 563.
Are you representing
South Main.
AYA or are you a private citizen on the
I
street?
am representing
You are? Okay.
AYA on this particular
All right.
one, yes. We are looking to add a couple bedrooms to one of our facilities that will house homeless youth. That is a small project, maybe $100,000, but I think you're kind of catching where I'm getting caught now. I'm going to kind of make this lighthearted and quick. If I'm willing to put in the sidewalks, are you guys willing to put in the road? Because the road we're talking about is dirt roads, and you have 11 miles of it. To think that I want to put in a couple bedrooms on a small house, and it's going to cost me $500,000, makes it, I don't even need to go any further. You guys kind of get the point. And I do want to say, I was listening, if not here, Carmen had a passionate point that got me. I'm like, yeah, we want to be that town that has sidewalks everywhere. We want to be that town. I was right with them. I was sold. You know, I don't sit on that side of the bench, but I sit here. It got my attention. Now that I'm looking at it and have the shoes on the other foot, I'm going, oh my God, I can't put a couple bedrooms on the back of this house because I'm going to put in a sidewalk on a road that is dirt and isn't even, so I got to put in a concrete sidewalk and you guys don't even have a road on there. And I'm not blaming you guys. It's not you guys. It's how do we deal with this as a city? There's 11 miles of dirt roads and it's kind of complicated. And that one size fits all just did not seem to work, as you heard. That's it.
Thank you, Scott. Yes. You get to finish.
Great. My name's Michael Santoro Sr. I'm with Vivian. I mean, he's putting the road in, whatever. The problem that I see in it is I don't think she has a problem doing from Minnesota to the actual property line, but now they're telling her that she has to pave from the property line 600 feet up her road driveway. Her driveway on her property is what she has to pave it. And I don't understand why that would have to be paved. It's her property. That's what this whole thing is coming down to, because we're talking about a difference of 180,000 to it's actually right around 763,000 for the 600 feet they want of her property on her driveway. So that's what she's trying to explain. Why are they saying that she has to pave her driveway? It's her driveway. She can have it gravel. That's what she was trying to say.
All right, thanks, Michael. Okay, are there any more? Yes, sir.
Get up there.
Say your name and everything, stupid.
I've seen a lot of developments go down the hill.
Name and just city, please.
Kevin Ellison. I've seen a lot of developments in the state and county go down the tube because they do stuff like this, and they're trying to bring money into the country, to the state, when you guys are asking for money, which could help you guys through state, taxes and everything, or city taxes. And they're trying to give you money, not take any money away from you. So.
I understand.
I've seen it happen a lot. About 50 times through the 20 years I've been here. Between abandoning you guys, you've lost a lot of money. So that's all I have to say.
All right. Does anyone else wants to make a comment on this? All right. We'll close the Yes.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
My name's Amy Nickerson, and I was trying to purchase a lot of the lot owner on the gravel road, and I was wanting to build a house for my daughter. $300,000 wouldn't cost any more than that, and it can't now because now it's $1 million ordeal. And so my question is, what is considered development? What would be the definition of development? In an existing residential neighborhood, I don't consider that development. I've been a realtor for 10 years in Alaska. To me, a brand new subdivision, like brand new, that's development. Putting a house in a neighborhood that's 80 plus years established, that's not development. And to his point, tax us. Let us build. Let us help bring money to the city that we love, not prevent us from growing as a city and helping to be a part of the cycle of growth. Because there's so many more people like me that just worked a 12-hour shift and want to build a home for my 18-year-old daughter to someday have her own business and give back to this community. And we can't do that because of laws and regulations that probably had a good starting place and a good purpose, but when you dissect it, it's horrible. It's preventing people who grew up in this community, like myself, or people who want to move into the community and be contributing taxpayers from doing any of that, because unfortunately, we're not all millionaires. But we can afford, I think the average income for Coos Bay is $64,000. So how could that average income support that type of road development? I can understand where you're wanting to go, but I really think it needs to be revisited for the greater good of all of us.
All right, thank you. Anyone else? All right, so it's just going to be on this discussion?
I would just like to say a word for the trees.
No, no, that'll be at the end, sorry. No, the public comments will be later on for that. This is just for this item. Anyone else on this item? All right, so no more public comments, and so I guess my question to staff is that, I think it was stated pretty good. When we had brought this up last time and staff had suggested something, it was for a good purpose, and we thought that that was the best way to go. And so the council went ahead and adopted that. Now we're back with some comments by the citizens that want to do some development, or however you want to put it, do some building of homes or development or whatever it may be, and now there's a discussion about maybe that what we put in place is not really the right thing to do. So does staff have a suggestion on how we address these concerns?
We could come back if that's the desire with some suggestions.
Well, I think it is. I mean, first of all, staff has brought it back to us for reevaluation, I guess. And so obviously, unless I'm misunderstanding the staff, they're suggesting that we probably revisit this and come up with another situation.
We just didn't want to go against any of the intent of the council. And I'll take responsibility. The examples or case study I showed you was for a lot adjacent to an undeveloped right-of-way. We have now this issue of these lots adjacent to existing gravel roads, and that's where we were seeking clarification. And again, I'll take the responsibility for not maybe thinking of more case studies to bring to this council.
So
I have heard, I haven't heard from these folks, but I have heard from other citizens of our community that have run into the same thing that these folks have brought up. And, you know, if you take the black and white version of what this council did, we're stifling, is their point that they're making. And I struggle as I listen to these folks and the people that have talked to me about this, how in an existing development where people are accessing that road, that the onus falls on one of the property owners. And I did, at the time that we discussed this, I believe, make that point that it seems like there should be a shared responsibility if everyone is going to use it. So that's the comment that I wanted to make.
So to get back to what I was suggesting, does staff have do you think they can come up with a recommendation that's going to address these issues? I mean, we were at one spot, so I mean, we're getting all kinds of, I think we need to revisit this in some fashion and try to see if we can accommodate this.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
I would like to have another work session, because I think every one of us, and even the individuals who are talking, wants to see nice streets, nice sidewalks, gutters. They want all of that. What the concern is that one person is bearing the responsibility of the burden for an entire street because they're the last one to put something in. And so there's got to be some method where we can figure out how we get all of the streets in our community to be blacktop, sidewalked, and guttered the way we want them to look without putting all that burden on a few individuals who are trying to either better their property or improve their investments or whatever their purpose is. That we could spread that burden out some way. And I don't know what those ideas are, but there's got to be some way. I can look at historical pictures, and I can remember when, what's the road that goes by Walmart?
Right.
There was no road there, right? And so now there's 4 lanes of blacktop and sidewalks. So it happens somehow, and we want that to continue because we want our community to be the community we want it to be, and we want it to grow, and we want people to have a nice place to live.
So when that Walmart thing happened, Walmart paid for it.
I meant the whole street. I'm just saying, we look at, there was no road there, and now there's a road.
Well, I know, but
I agree with Councilor Cribbins, and I think you do too, Mayor Benetti. I think that the
I'm not saying that we shouldn't go have
No, stay with me. I'm just saying that the staff came with one recommendation, and we listened to their recommendation, and we all came to consensus that, yes, we want to have a city that has sidewalks and gutters and streets and all this stuff. And now we've been presented with another option of things we haven't considered. So
an unforeseen problem, really.
Exactly.
Frankly.
And so I would like staff, I think we're all saying, Nicole, can you have the team come back with some potential solutions to this, and we can discuss it further.
Yeah.
We certainly can. I just a couple things. So the first thing I was going to say is just kind of maybe round out the picture a little bit. So our code stood with this expectation of the full build out. And in maybe 2012, 13, 14, somewhere in there, you were presented, or the council at the time was presented with an opportunity to stray from that code in an effort to encourage development. So you had a kind of a moratorium, let's say, on those standards. And when we came back to you and spoke to you about our previous example, that was a right-of-way that was not built out at all. There was not any roadway there. And so that example was saying, let's pull away that moratorium and let's go back to what we want, which is those full build-outs. So I just wanted to set that stage a little bit, that we have a code issue that we're going to have to deal with for sure, especially between the different code sections that speak to different areas: fire code, development code. I think we would probably come back with a recommendation that we rethink if there's a gravel road already in place. You know, we maybe want to consider that being the standard for that road, if especially we have single infill kind of build out. But I do think it would benefit everybody to speak about it a little bit more. The challenge is the longer we take with this, the longer they're waiting to do what they would like to do. And that's not a pressure point to make a decision, but it's just an acknowledgement of what we're asking of them.
But I think it's going to be difficult to make a decision tonight.
Agreed.
Okay, so I agree that we probably should have a work session. And the other thing that we need to put into play and keep reminding, and I think part of this might be a problem, is the moratorium that was in place prior to this council coming on
Yes,
board. So
which is
we've
where
been dealing
some
with
of those
that.
were
And then staff
approved.
suggested
Yeah.
that do we do away with the moratorium and go back to this? But some of this already has started, so they've caught themselves in a catch-22.
Correct.
So I think we need to keep that in mind. To Councilor Cribbins, I just want to say, is there something in place in the past? We had a system development charge, which was referenced. We did away with that to help development and help people build, because that system development charge is quite expensive, thousands upon thousands. So we're not going to unless this council wants to go down that road, I don't think that we're going to reinitiate that system. But to get all paved roads in the city under this scenario is going to be difficult. But I think that we can address some of these and maybe accomplish that. So when's our next work session?
So your next work session is coming up next week.
Okay.
It's a joint work session with the Parks Commission. It's a pretty full agenda. You could certainly look at that for the October work session. You could also contemplate a special work session.
Well, I want to time out. The work is going to be on you and the staff, so I want to make sure that we're being realistic with that.
Yep.
And I want a full plan brought to us. So if it's October when we need to have this, let's just make sure we have all the information so we can make an informed decision.
And even if that, to me, means consultants who can help us brainstorm on ideas we haven't thought of how to disperse that burden. Because I don't think anybody in this room was saying they didn't want it to be nicer. They were just wanting to know,
Agreed.
why am I having to pay for all of it?
Right.
Right.
But I think we have so that's why, this is why we need a work session. Well, I think that we need this work session it should be twofold. Address the concerns that we have, and then address the future.
Yes.
And I think we need to keep those separate. So,
Yeah.
okay? So, but I think that we need, as you stated, time frame is important, so we need to think about that. And so getting this on a work session or a special meeting to address it would be important.
So we can talk internally what we might need as far as time to put together some good data sets for you to look at,
Okay.
and then propose,
All right, so, and also just to make sure that when we have this work session, that these individuals have come forth, we have their addresses and contact information to make sure they're aware of it.
And let them know that public comment is at the beginning, right, Jennifer? Not during.
But what we'll do is we'll have a public hearing set up for this and advertise it so we can do that, right? Or in the work session, we don't need to do that.
we can walk whatever path you would like
In
us
the work
to do.
session, right, okay. All right. Anything else on this? All right, okay, we're going to move on.
Just for clarification, this is not coming before the work session next week. We're looking at least a month.
Well,
Or more.
if we need to call a special work session, I think we can do it, but I think it depends on staff being able to put the information together to address it.
All right, thank you.
Can you make sure that I'm included in the work session?
Pardon?
I gave you this comments, I think, in my contact.
They just wanted to be informed
Yes, yes, yep, you will. Okay. We have their contact information, correct?
The only one we may not have is the. Yeah, yours.
Does it have your address on there?
The lady who was gonna build.
Okay, perfect. All right. All right. Okay, here we go. Next item on the agenda is discussion regarding the Nancy Devereaux Center operations. And so, Nicole, can you walk us through the process that we've been and where we are at and how we got here, please?
Yes, thank you. So I would start by saying that we historically, we being the city, we have had an ongoing relationship with the Devereaux Center. There's very much been communications either with Chief having conversations, I myself. So we've had kind of some open conversations back and forth over the years. We all might remember that in May of 23, we started talking potentially about the opportunity for maybe more appropriate locations. So we had some conversations around that. The funding for that was not, ended up being not available. That was a piece of the puzzle to maybe the challenge for the location that they're at, which is just really high traffic and limited in their capacity, the size of that building, to really meet the needs of what they intend to do regularly. Recently, just trying to kind of initiate some conversations around maybe some solutions, getting some feedback from the community overall when we think about, we are here to serve the citizens' entirety throughout the city. That's, all 16 roughly thousand of us. Trying to find that balance. We offered an opportunity for folks from the Devereaux Center to come in and talk with city staff. That was the first part of August on the 9th. We had Mayor Benetti and Councilor Kilmer and Councilor Stevens, myself there, and Tara Johnson, the executive director, John Richardson, the board chair, Simon, and I'm going to not remember your last name, also a member of the board, and then Eric Schirmer from the Homeless Response Office. We all sat and kind of just, the goal was to share what we believe some challenges were that we were hearing from citizens, having direct experience with, kind of put those out on the table and troubleshoot some ideas. That meeting didn't go quite as planned. We did have some communication issues, and so we didn't quite come up with some of the solutions we were looking for. But we did communicate that we had concerns that needed addressed with some urgency, and shared that there was a pathway by which this council could identify the Devereaux Center as potentially being a community nuisance. That's specific in our code. It speaks to public health and safety. It speaks to garbage. There's a lot of elements there, but there is a piece that is a more kind of umbrella of the overall general community health and safety. If we were to walk that path, it leads to many things. Could be fines, could be, a loss of a business license. So following that, because that is a very challenging path for both parties to take, we did, following that meeting, produce a letter of summary of what those kind of suggestions were that came from the city, and identified some code sections that would apply, and tagged it with a 30-day response. That letter went out on August 14th, and so we're right in that 30-day period, and the Devereaux Center did provide a letter for everyone. It's there at your seats, of the things that they have accomplished in that 30 days. And I think those are available for you to look at and see whether or not you think that those are sufficient to meet kind of some of the concerns that we had. We would be looking from staff's perspective, what you might see as next steps. So we might have some guidance in that way.
Excuse me, I'm going to, since I asked this to be on the agenda this evening, I can tell you that we've been dealing with issues with the Devereaux Center and trying to find solutions with them since they wanted to relocate to the Pro Diesel building. And there's been discussions, ongoing discussions with our city manager and their executive director, Tara Johnson. I've had interaction and discussions with some of the board. And then Stephanie Kilmer, Councilor Kilmer, and I went to the Devereaux Center for a meeting about 2 months ago, a little bit longer maybe. That meeting was very contentious, I can tell you that. I was very disappointed that we left feeling that we weren't being heard on how things needed to be addressed. And so then we asked staff to get together and have a joint meeting. In between that, John Robertson, the chair, had reached out to me because I had suggested some things to lessen the impact there. I felt, and I still feel, that the services that they are offering are too much for that site. That site's not proper. The original services they offer were to help individuals that are listed in their website, getting licenses, getting established, getting jobs, and so forth. But they also feed people, about 80 people a day. And the way it is, they say it's a day center. Well, they close at 2. And they offer services Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday to feed about 80 people. And those 80 people are left to do nothing else after they're fed. There's no wraparound services for the Devereaux Center. Other entities I've talked to that do, they insist if you don't have wraparound services that you can't be successful. The other thing, I feel that it's a huge impact on the Empire community that needs to be considered. I don't think it's been considered. And I want to say that I've heard the testimony tonight, and there's a lot of benefit has been done. Don't get me wrong. This is a service that has been wonderful to a lot of people, but I don't think there's been an equal balance. I think that's been referenced in some other commentary. We need to find a balance that's going to be, they're going to be part of the community out in Empire, and I think they need to dispense the services throughout the community. The other thing that's happening is this Devereaux Center services all of Coos County, all the cities in Coos County, and some of the cities in Curry County. And that was commentary made by Tara when we met with her. So this is not coming from me. She stated that cities in Brookings, Gold Beach, Curry County, she mentioned cities in the county that are all using our services here. And so this is impacting Coos Bay. We need to find a way to have these services dispensed out into the other parts of this community to help us take these on. And it's not happening. So when I'm with Mr. Richardson, we talked about moving the feeding, the lunches, to other parts of the community. Not our community, maybe to other parts in the county. And he thought it was a good idea. We called it a soup kitchen, is what he referenced it. And I think that needs to happen somewhere else, not at Empire, at the Devereaux Center. The medical services also are done there. And I think they should be maybe at, health and wellness, at or advanced health area up there. They could do the medical services there. What's happening is with that site and that size, it's impacting that community, and there's no way it can handle it. As it was mentioned, we asked for certain things. The other thing I think we need to address is the Coal Bank Village. I don't know if everyone keeps talking about the Coal Bank Village, but and you correct me if I'm wrong, Nicole, the Coal Bank Village cannot stay in that location any longer. It's going to have to move. FEMA's come in and said it's going to have to relocate. And the director has stated to certain individuals that have gotten back to me that the city is going to be responsible for finding another location for them to go. That is not the case. The city is not going to find a location for Coal Bank Village pallet homes to relocate. It's just not going to happen. We're working and we're in cohort with FEMA Chelsea's been involved with that. But FEMA's getting to the point, Chelsea, you can step in and tell me, that they want this to be relocated, and soon. So that's going to be another impact to the Devereaux Center to do. And so it needs to be aware, and I don't think everyone is realizing that. I think I see some surprised heads here that that's going to, unfortunately, these homes that you're having and living in are going to go away unless they step up and find another location. And I think it's important they do that. So, you know, I feel the Devereaux Center needs to be a good neighbor. We've asked them to do some different things. We asked them, and we got a response back that, you know, do a fence or security. Now, they've indicated here that they're going to do a fence. They got a grant for. But that fence can't be built until the end of October, the 1st of November, am I correct?
I'm not certain if we have an exact date, but that's roughly in the range.
Roughly it. So in between that, I feel we need to have security. And we've asked that they be security, and we've gotten pushback that the Devereaux Center doesn't think they should provide security or they can't afford it. The thing is that we need to have security to make sure that after 2 o'clock, there's no one staying there all the way through. So there needs to be 24-hour security, in my opinion. Remember, I'm one of 7, so this is my opinion. But I brought this on the agenda, so I'm just going to give you my take on it. I think they need to have security until they can get the fence in place. And even when they get the fence in place, we need to be assurances that there's no one behind the fence. Because at first, it was going to be a chain link fence they could see through. Well, that's not the case. It's going to be a wood fence. So we need to make sure there's assurances that there's not this going on at night.
Mr. Mayor, can you emphasize and clarify that this is not a fence that's being paid for by the city?
No, they got a grant for it. So anyway, as I can go on, so they asked the change in policies. We asked for, that we felt they needed a diverse board, and they've got some new members. I applaud them for that. They talked about getting a few more board members in October, I believe. This is great. So the thing is that the Devereaux Center impacts city services, police, public works, administration, city council, and volunteer services. Just like, for instance, OBAB. They put in hundreds of hours cleaning up areas that have been impacted by individuals from the Devereaux Center. I'm not saying they're all that way, but there are some that are that way. So, Chief, I'd like to ask you, how much time does the police put in approximately to respond to issues with the Devereaux Center? They're trespassing or they're being, whatever it may be.
We're out there a few times a week for sure. In order for me to get you numbers, I think what I would like to do, without just quoting numbers off the top of my head, I would like to have my 911 communications administrator pull those numbers so that way we actually have legitimate numbers. But we are there several times a week, that is for sure.
So, and it's been stated by the director that they will trespass individuals who have not been in compliance. So to do that, then they call the police to enforce the trespassing, which really should be in situation that the Devereaux Center handles. If they had security in the proper way, they could do this. And I'm not just pulling this out of my head or thinking it up. Other agencies do this. They said they don't trespass and call the police. They trespass and handle it themselves. Unless there's a real critical issue or someone's very belligerent, but most of trespassing will be handled by them. What's happening, in my opinion, that we're being used, the police department, to be security for the Devereaux Center. And that's just not what should happen. We have a policy that was just initiated, to trespass policy, or Chief, that they just pulled out a permit for to Devereaux Center.
Property Watch?
Property Watch? You're talking Property Watch?
Right.
Yeah,
So-
the Property Watch application just came through.
So we have, like I said, we've been talking to the Devereaux Center for months about this, and this issue was just pulled, this permit was just pulled. And this should have been done a while ago, and we could have worked with them. So I think there's I'm very disappointed that we can't get to a working relationship. I feel it gets disconnected, and that we need to do something about it. They need to have 24-hour security. We also have the change in Measure 110, which is going to impact the Devereaux Center because Measure 110 was a way to have drugs, unlimited drugs, and now that's not going to be the case. And so there's a possibility for the board members to understand that if there's drugs out there and drug activity, you could be liable for allowing that to happen. Am I correct, Chief?
That is correct. Effective September 1st, the drug laws were re-implemented, and it did criminalize the possession of illegal narcotics. So if somebody is caught with those, we will be taking criminal action. And our code is written to where if there is a property, private property, that this type of criminal offenses occur on a regular basis, it could be subject to specified crime property.
Okay, so, and one of the things that I'm having a little problem with, the response that we got from the Deo Center on some things, one of the items we asked them is to give us updates on trying to relocate to another facility. And the one that they have mentioned on there is the Eastside State Surplus. That wasn't even an option. I know it was listed, but we've told them right away that's not going to be able to be happening. They also mentioned the Bologna Boys Ranch. Well, we suggested that, myself and Nicole and people in the community suggested the Bologna's Ranch more than once, and we were told no by the director. That's not available, that's not possible. So to list it as a possibility, as a location, I have a little issue with, because that's not the case. The other one they have down here is former First Call Resolution Building, which is the old J.C. Penney building downtown. That would never be allowed in that facility. So I think some of these were just thrown out. Again, pro-diesel is being considered again. I'm not sure that's going to be an option with FEMA and that location. So these are some things that I think some of these were just brought up, and I have some issues with that. So anyway, I'm going to stop. I really have some problems with the Deo Center. I'm just going to say I don't believe it's being managed properly. I think it's being managed poorly. I think some of the board members and the board is trying to make some changes, but I think that we're at a point that this council needs to make a decision how we want to move forward with regulating the Deo Center, or not regulating it. They're in violation. Before us, you have a nuisance ordinance from our city attorney that basically says they're in violation of our nuisance ordinance, which is in place. So I think that we should enforce this, in my opinion. So anyway, council, how would you like to proceed? Discussion? I talked long enough. At the end?
When we're done talking, there'll be public comment. I would like to say I appreciated all the comments from the audience, and this is an unfortunate situation, and it's an uncomfortable situation for us, because the services that are provided by the Deo Center are clearly good services. The challenge that we have is that the mayor has mentioned that we've been talking about this for several months, but it's been much longer than several months. And as he stated in the letter, the comments in the letter, from my perspective, seem a bit disingenuous, because we've asked to have a good working relationship, and that simply has not happened. And so while these services are important to this community, there is a problem with the management of that organization, and I think that is the challenge that this council faces. And I think Mayor Benetti, you did a great job of spelling it out. I know other councilors probably have comments to make, but that's where I sit. I'm just struggling with the fact that we have been working for a long time. We've heard a lot of commentary from our citizens. We've taken a lot of heat from some of the citizens of this community, and quite honestly, we need the Deo Center to be a good community partner as well.
Anyone else?
This is Sarah.
Yes.
I do just want to recognize, I think in the room is Simon and Amanda McCarthy, and I do appreciate their new membership and thought processes that they're bringing to the Devereaux board. But I would agree with the comments that Mayor Benetti and Councilor DeNovo have made, that this is just too little too late. And it is time, I always want to stay asset-based and do our best to be positive and bring forward solutions and be good community partners, but we have come up against barrier after barrier with the Devereaux leadership staff, and I think it's time that we need to take punitive action.
I guess I'd like to say, I think that the Devereaux Center is a needed function in our community. Those individuals are just as much of our community as everyone else. The difficulty is our charge is to represent all 15,000 of the community. And this is a complicated issue. And the rest of the mayor and the rest of the councilors have had much longer time span. Because I looked at the letter and I thought, well, that seems like a good faith, statement of doing all those things. But what I'm hearing from you is they've been saying that for a year and none of it's happening. So I don't know what their answer is. I don't know they have all extra money to handle, nuisance fines, but to everyone's point, something has to be done to move things forward so that we can make this work for both segments of the community.
This is a difficult place that we are in. I live out in Empire, and I can tell you that I have seen a difference in the community, at least from the street level where I drive back and forth. There is an effort by the Devereaux Center to try and have more of an impact from my visual. They have added new board members. I would imagine that finding a new location it's just a difficult thing because they run into obstacles as they do that, just like we run into obstacles as we try to find housing. But also, providing the types of services that they do is a messy job, and it is not always met with welcoming arms by the community that has to coexist. And so it is a difficult place to be. I can also tell you that there, in my eyes, were very easy, low-hanging fruit things that could have been dealt with. I think it's the timing too. It takes too long. I mean, I understand that the people that are providing this, paid to provide this service as staff to the community, have a lot of balls that they're juggling in this process. And this is just one of those balls that are up in the air. One of those plates that are spinning constantly, and you're trying to keep them all going. But there are some things that could have been done quickly. For example, I drive by, usually because I'm on my way home from meetings in the evening hours, long after the Devereaux Center has been closed, and there are people on the property. Not as many as there used to be, but there are still people on the property. And that could have been simply resolved by having a security company that drives through, that deals with that, instead of having to activate police for a property watch program. I just happened to be on the phone with the mayor the other night, and there were a handful of people on the property as I drove by, and I said, oh, there's people on the property. So those are things that could have been easily addressed quickly, and I think that's what you're hearing tonight from the council, is that it is taking too long. And even when options were provided, there was resistance to that. And we are here 30 days later, and we have this letter that has things that have been on it longer than that 30-day period. So what is happening? I also want to acknowledge that they have had their teams of people that are utilizing their services go out and do cleanups in the community. That is noticeable, and I appreciate that. But again, it's a difficult place for us to be up here because, as Councilor Cribbins has stated and the mayor has stated, we represent 16,116 people or whatever it is, something like that. It's not just the population that is served by the members that receive services from the Deo Center. And there are 7,000 people who live in the Empire District, and they are impacted by this. And so we have to recognize that, and so does the Deo Center.
Yeah, it just needs to be mitigated, and it needs to be changed, and the operation needs to be different, and I think the board has made some changes to the board, which has been helpful. Anyway, do we have some board members here? They're more than welcome to make a comment if they'd like. I'm not going to try to force you to do it, but if you want to make a comment, this would be the time. Absolutely, Simon.
My name's Simon. I am a new member of the board of the Deo Center. I want to start by saying I'm not speaking for the board. I'm speaking for myself. I've seen the concerns that everyone has. I've seen the successes that the Deo Centers have. You know, it's not a matter of if we need the center. We know we need it. One of the things that I recommended at our last board meeting was that we look at an outside consultant to look at our operations. And I believe there was a consensus of the board at the time that we do that. And I believe that that will be I can't tell you the specifics of what that operational review is going to tell us. I can't tell you what exactly we're going to look for, but I can tell you that as a board member, if you guys have specific things you want to add to that, you know, we can talk about it as a board to put that into our operational review if the board votes it in. Like I said, it was a consensus of the board that we proceed with that, but nothing's been finalized, of course. Like I said, I'm speaking for myself, not for the board. I really do want to say that there's a huge need for the center. Even the people that spoke in opposition of it recognize that need. The councilors have recognized that need. And so I think that going forward, that operational review, if accepted by the board, is something that's going to show the citizens' good faith of what we're doing. I don't know what that's going to produce. I don't know. I haven't been here long enough, as these councilors have, to see the exact ramifications of, you know, operations. But my commitment as the board member is to try to bring those things in good faith to the community and to the council, because this has been an issue between the Deo Center and the council before me. So I'm not, you know, privy to all that information. So all I want to say is, again, the operational review is something that I think will be very important. I think it'll be impactful. I will advocate it to the board. And again, I'm not speaking for the board. I'm speaking for myself. Thank you.
Thanks, Simon. All right. Anyone else from the board? All right, Chris?
I am Chris Castleman, and just like you, I care about the city. I care about the people in the city. I enjoy living here, and it is a beautiful place. A quote by Steve Prefontaine has stuck with me since I was a child and has given direction to my life. To give anything less than your best is to sacrifice the gift. I've always asked myself, am I giving my best? So I ask tonight, is the city council giving its best? Is the police force giving its best? Ask yourselves, is the Deo Center giving its best? Are they giving their clients their best? Are they giving their community their best? Is rampant crime giving our best? Is fentanyl the best that Coos Bay has to offer? Is prostitution the best this city has to offer? Is trash thrown everywhere and illegal encampments the best this city has to offer? I don't think so. And if you don't think so, and you love and care about this city the way I do, you'll step up to the plate and make sure that our citizens and our visitors are receiving the best when they come to Coos Bay. You know, I've never been politically active until I moved to this area 3 years ago. And the people sitting in front of me might only know me as that guy who ran for county commissioner and the guy who comes in and complains about all the bad things that are wrong with this city. But that's not who I've been all my life. My whole life, I've simply been the guy who cares deeply about his surroundings, too deeply sometimes. When I see somebody struggling, when I see us as a community struggling, when I see homeowners and businesses struggling, I step up to the plate. I don't just ask what other people can do. First and foremost, I ask what I can do, and I do it. I take direct physical action if I can, and indirect action if I cannot. And I try to convince others to take action if they are able. I'm also the guy who is willing to say something when something needs to be said. That's just who I am. So that's why I'm here, because people need to stand up and say something and take action. We need to say what needs to be said and talk directly about the reality of the situation, that the situation with the Deo Center is simply not our best. It's not the best our city has to offer, and I'm here today to plead with you to please take decisive, punitive action against this blight on our community. Stop attracting the wrong crowd to our community. Stop allowing that crowd to terrorize our community. Please stop this madness. It starts with you taking decisive action tonight against the Deo Center so they learn to change their ways and are shut down if they do not. The citizens of Coos Bay deserve our best. Thank you.
All right, Nicole, so we also have some comments that were sent in, and they want them to be part of the record, so could you go ahead and make that part of the record now?
Yes, so the first one, and I'm going to do my best to read handwriting, but I think it's Elisa Gallagher.
Actually, I'm here.
Oh, yeah. Okay, and then there is a comment online.
My name's Elsie Gallagher, and I'm going to elaborate a little bit on what Terry spoke about earlier. He spoke about Project DKD. There is a reason that the medical facilities or the medical providers and the medical staff and volunteers go to the Deo Center. You have to meet those people where they are. They aren't going to trust you. They don't trust us. People drive by and throw things out of their cars at them and scream profanities. It took me a year to get someone that goes to the Deo Center to open up to me and actually admit that he has been on the streets since 2018 in Paradise when the campfire hit. He has not been able to pick himself back up. He has a trade. He can do something. He can't catch a break. He's had a broken back. He's looking at surgeries. He's had surgeries. We are there twice a month. Medical professionals volunteer. Chaplaincy, Advanced Health, MRT, HIV Alliance, Bay Area First Step. There has been people bashing Tara, on Facebook, and in the very next month, when a lady is discharged from the hospital at 76 on a bench, being told they don't have anywhere to go, that exact same social media page is saying, call Tara. She'll help. She'll find a place for that person. She did find a place for that person, and she is trying desperately to keep that person out of the hospital and get her into a nursing home. We have had 2 senior citizen couples, one placed in skilled nursing, which is they can't take care of themselves, one placed in assisted living. We've had them cleaned up off the street, off drugs, out of the wheelchairs, not screaming at anybody on the streets, and I think everybody knows who we're talking about. He's clean, he's sober, he's on medication. He has a 20-minute coherent conversation with people. Chaplaincy is there when we are there. You don't get these people to come back. You don't get these people to make a step forward unless these people can trust someone. They have to have a step. You never know which word is the right word to get them to realize that they can do it. Might be something that Joe says when he's been at the Deo Center, when we've been there with the medical clinic. It may be somebody smiling at them on the street for no reason.
I think we've heard both sides of this tonight, and it is a really challenging decision that's before you guys. I think we want to read the rest of these. I mean, they were asked to be read. I don't know if anyone else who sent these in are here that wants to read them themselves. Okay. Okay, these ones are super short. And I don't believe we'll have names, but, well, here we go. The Devereaux has helped me in many ways that I can put down on paper. I would be here for many, many days, so I'll keep it short and sweet. They help me with showers, washing my clothes. They help me with food. They help me with anything I need if it is reasonable. They have helped me with housing. They are a very good resource. They need to stay open. This one does not have a name either. Survival, food, clothes, medical, sanitation supplies. This is, I guess, a response into a question that says, what does the Devereaux mean to me? And so each of these are responding to that. Get food, warm, safe place to live, drug and addiction treatment, life skills and counseling, help with legal issues. A place to shower, food, clothing, everyday necessities, social services. My home, my food. If it was not for the Devereaux, I probably would be dead. They gave me a place to live, and I have been, I don't know, something in my still being alive. They helped me find a reason to be, and that's signed actually by Janice Meikle, perhaps Merkel. That's the last.
Okay, so those comments will be part of the record. Jim, you had a public comment? Jim, you have your hand up virtually.
Yeah, I'm unmuted now.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
We have, I believe, the League of Oregon Cities next conference in North Bend at the casino. I'm anticipating that there'll probably be a booth there advocating or helping some cities able
Jim,
or
is your comment in reference to the Devereaux Center?
No.
Okay, if you could hold that comment until the end of the meeting, please.
Okay.
Thank you. All right, so is there any other comments on this? All right, we're going to close. Go ahead, sir. This will be the last one, and then we're going to close comments.
My name's Brett Wiederhold. I live in Coos Bay, about a block from the Devereaux Center. We've heard all the good stuff about Devereaux Center. It's definitely needed. You mentioned they need to get security and fences and all this stuff to keep the people out. You guys have a security company that closes Empire Lakes every night, yet there's still at least 10 people that live in there and several visitors throughout the evening. I happen to live right next door and watch it on a daily basis. Putting a fence up and hiring a security guard doesn't do squat. That's the reality of it. Unreasonable expectations on people trying to do things is absurd, completely absurd. They struggle doing their job as it is. The homeless people, they didn't create that crisis, but they're trying to do their best, and having someone putting their thumb on them isn't helping. I mean, ask the police, they're understaffed. Help the people. Don't put them under thumb. Don't make them do unreasonable requests. It's absurd. It doesn't do the city any good. I have an 11-year-old daughter I want to see safe. Do I like looking at them every time I leave the house? No. If they come onto my property and decide to make a drug deal on my lawn, does that make me liable? No. If I take the law into my own hands, who goes to jail? Me.
Mm-hmm.
So, forcing them to do the same thing, where does it end? Help them, because you're not. As a city, that's a shameful thing. It's not their problem. They didn't create it.
All right, thanks. So that's the end of the comments. So I'm going to go a little bit further. Yes, they do a lot of good services, but they also have to lessen the impact to that community. And we have sat down numerous times and tried to find ways to help them and made suggestions on ways to help them. But that has not been taken or suggested, or they're not moving forward in that way. I think they need to find ways to change things. I think they're in the process of doing that. But until they do, I believe, I would say, I think it was mentioned by Simon that they're in the process of getting a consultant and look at their operational. I think if you can come back and show us how that has been finalized and how you plan on doing that and how that's going to make a difference once you have something in place. I also think that you need to have security in place to make sure that you're within maintaining your own regulations. You're saying at 2 o'clock that no one's going to be on that property. This nuisance ordinance is in violation and has been. And it basically says, is to find any act failing to perform any duty or permitting or causing any condition or thing to exist which results in a substantial unreasonable interference with abutting property owners, which they do, and occupiers' use and enjoyment of their property. Again, they have to be good neighbors. That's what I'm trying to talk about. And so to do that, I think having security 24 hours is a way that needs to happen. So if I'm recommending, and I can tell you that there's other providers in our area that help the needy, that help the homeless, the less fortunate, and they do not impact this community the way the Deo Center does. It's seamless. So I'm suggesting, and I don't know how the rest of the council feels, that we revoke the business license. It takes 30 days to go into place. If it can come back before that 30 days is up, and they show us what's been done within consulting the operation, and they have security in place until they can get the fence up and going, I think that would be a step in the right direction, and then we can do a reconsideration. So that's my recommendation. I'll make a motion to do so.
I'll second it. Yep.
Okay. Is there any other discussion on this?
I just want to reiterate, this isn't about the person. This is about currently how the organization is run. And I think that we have heard that there are board members that have just been added, and they are working to solve it. But Mayor Benetti, to the motion you made, I think we're at a place where we have to represent all of the citizens, which has already been mentioned. And if in 30 days it can come back and show us some of the work that's been done, perhaps we can consider changing it if this passes.
I totally agree. And the reason I want to do this
would
now,
like the
reason I
motion
want to,
restated.
I want to revoke their business license. Pretty simple. That's it. If they come back with the understanding, if they have a consultant in place for the operation, something finalized that's showing us what will be accomplished, and also they have security and a security agreement or some kind of security plan that they can show us that will keep this under control and maintain it until the fence is put up at the end of when it may be. The way this works, if I understand correctly, Nate and Nicole, if we take this action tonight and revoke the license, it takes 30 days to go into action. Am I correct?
Oh, so you're saying revoke it in 30 days?
Well, no. My understanding
It's
is,
revoked.
no, my understanding, Nicole, you want to step in and tell me what?
There's a code section that speaks to revocation of a business license, and it is a 30-day following notification. So there is a process by which we need to formally notify.
Right.
And then that takes 30 days before that's in place. There are, generally you would speak to things that could prevent it from being finalized and fully revoked, so that there's a process by which they can resolve the issues before that 30 days.
So there could be conditions.
Yes.
Right. So I would suggest, if that's the case, they come back before the council with their solutions, and then the council can make a decision to withdraw that revoke license, business license.
I have a question, a point of order, I guess. What would be the financial burden of doing that and then having to reinstate the license versus charging them a nuisance fee, or is there? So is there any financial burden to revoking their license and them having to reestablish it in 30 days?
There would be obviously a new license renewal, the process by which a person would apply for a license, would apply then. There's fees associated with that.
So if they didn't meet the requirements, there's probably a 2-week period that would be closed. I'm making this stuff up, but there could be a potential time where it would shut down until they were able to meet those conditions.
That
and
is
then
a
reestablish.
possibility.
Okay. And then how much is the nuisance fine, and what's the time period on it?
I
Is it a
believe
monthly
it's-
fine or a weekly fine?
Nuisance, if there, is $250 a day. Every day is a new one. But to find them nuisance, you'd have to go through, through a hearings officer and determine whether they are a nuisance or not.
So it would be more labor intensive for the city?
Yes, certainly.
Okay. Thank you.
And I'm hoping that we can they can find a way to help resolve these issues and become a good partner in the community, because I do believe there's a need for this operation. But again, it can't keep impacting this community the way it is. And I think these services shouldn't be all the responsibility of the city of Coos Bay. I think these services need to be dispensed out and shared by all other cities in this county. And it's just not right that the city of Coos Bay isn't having to deal with this. So anyway, that's my motion, and we have a second. Is there any other comments?
I understand that there's a step process, so there is a time frame for which this would go into effect. I sure wish there was another way where we could, is there, I guess my question is, there's a motion on the table, but is there no other way that, the board members, this is probably pretty clear that this is a very serious issue with the city. Is there any other way that we can do this without revoking the license and declaring a nuisance?
We could vote down the motion and then come up with a new motion.
Well, okay, so before we take the vote, I just want to make sure that we understand that this city and individuals in this city, including myself and Councilor Kilmer, have been dealing with this for months. And we've been asking and suggesting, and I'm not saying that these board members that aren't sitting here, that aren't willing participants, but the total board and the director is not a willing participant, in my mind, to make a change.
Yes,
So
I
therefore-
wasn't disagreeing. I was just saying that's the method.
I know. So my point is that I think it's important that we really put our foot down and saying this, that this needs to be resolved and not kick the can down the road anymore. So with that the case, any other comments? Hearing none, I'm going to call for the question. All in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, it passes. All right, so city manager's report.
Do we have any public
Oh,
comments?
Jim, I apologize. Are you still on?
Do we need to make a motion to extend this meeting because we're going to hit 9 o'clock?
Oh, true. All right, so by council rules, we have to extend the time period. It's at 9 o'clock, and so we still have urban renewal. So it doesn't have to be unanimous, does it?
To extend?
Yeah.
Do you just need consensus, or do we need a motion?
You can do it by consensus, it's your own rule.
Yeah, let's extend
You just want to suspend the 3 hours?
Okay,
Yeah.
we'll suspend it then. All right, so mayor's comments.
We can't hear.
Okay, well, let's take a 5-minute break. How's that?
Okay.
And we need to have, if we're going to have a second session public comment, that needs to happen first, right?
Well, I did, but no one's here.
Jim's not on, so we're not doing any more public.
Yeah, there's no more voting.
Jeremy came back.
I took everyone except Jim, who came in at the end, and now he's gone.
Okay.
Cool.
Not yet. We still have time on No, it's still. Yeah, I just have a couple. All right. Okay. Just taking a small break to the sound comes down.
All right, are we ready? City Manager's Report. Nicole.
Okay. Today was a little bit busy. We were in a full day mediation, so I just have a couple things. Otherwise, I might have had a longer list. But the first thing on my list, I didn't have opportunity. I was not at the last council meeting. Just quick thank you to Councilor Farmer for his service to the city. Just didn't get that opportunity to make that statement. I appreciate his time. So the second thing I was going to bring forth, I had some questions posed to me regarding the sidewalk at the new parking lot at 3rd and Central, and there's a mural going to be in place there. Just as a reminder for that project, it is an educational piece that's required for that project through DEQ, so we are completing that as that educational piece. We, of course, like all the murals, would be working towards the ability to keep it maintained, and what that looks like yet, we're not certain, but it's turning out to be quite lovely, so we, of course, would want it to stick around as long as possible. So, and then the last thing, and this may be a challenging topic, but we were asked if we would have any interest. I guess historically there had been a little bit of conversation about using a portion of Toppets for a sports park, and that's surfaced back up again, related to a soccer facility, I think. So just said I'd bring it forward. If there was any interest, we could certainly talk about it further. That is what I have.
So the sports complex where?
In Toppets Park. I think when we talked about it before, it was off of the Norman entrance.
Well, I think that in the discussion I've been involved in, I reiterated that there would need to be a traffic study, there needs to be some development, and that all needs to happen without us doing that study. And I think it could be somewhat costly, but if they wanted to do that and then come for the council, then I think it might be for consideration. But until that's done, I don't think it's something that we would just say, okay. So.
I would also add that Toppets Park is a very different complex as compared to Mingus Park. And I believe that was an issue that arose when that complex was proposed for that area before. That would change the whole dynamic of that park.
Okay.
Okay, that's what I got.
Anything else, Nicole?
Nope.
All right, council comments. Troy?
No comments.
Stephanie?
No comment.
Lucinda?
I want to thank the staff for coming back with the plan for the spring projects, and I appreciate you entertaining me with making sure that we have maps so that the citizens can see what we're talking about. I think it's good for all. And Nicole, thank you for letting us know that there will be a plan when we do those art projects in our community, that there is a plan for maintenance for those so that they don't turn into an eyesore and they continue to be something to be proud of. So thank you.
Okay, Sarah?
Yeah, in the interest of time tonight, I will say no comment tonight.
All right. And I think, Carmen, are you available? He gave me a message, and he doesn't know if he'll be able to make council comments. I know, but he's not. Yeah, he's here. Okay.
In an effort to save time, I will withhold my comments for this evening as well.
All right. Thank you, Carmen. I don't really have any comments. Difficult meeting tonight. A lot of tough situations, and I also want to say, Jennifer, you know, on the street standards, I don't think there's any blame that needs to be taken. Just come up with a resolution and get us through this and help. And I know that you guys can do that. It's just need to find a way to get there. Anyway, I'll end my comments with that. We will adjourn the city council meeting, and then there's an urban renewal meeting here that Steph